Hey, what's going on, everyone? ChazmaN here, and we are back with another episode of ChatZman, your favorite weekly place to hear about all of the major gaming news that has kind of intrigued me and my buddy Phoenix. Well, not just the gaming news. I feel like I keep saying that. Most of our topics end up being a kind of a gentle mix of games and other medium.
A gentle mix? What makes it gentle and not aggressive? We can have an aggressive mix.
I don't know.
Nothing gentle about you, Chaz.
So, once again, I apologize. Phoenix, once again, it was a little bit under the weather. Phoenix, did you want to explain yourself once again?
I'm dying. No, I'm getting over a case of bronchitis, so I'm probably still going to be a little rough, per usual, but you guys are getting used to it. You like my raspy voice, right? It's the sexiness that's brought into the chat, yeah? So, I don't know.
I think the conditions down in the basement are less than
a little too humid
right now.
Yeah.
It's a little too humid. I think he might have caught something bad.
Yeah, but other than that, I'm hanging in there.
But yeah, hey, just look at it. We took a little bit of a break, but we actually were able to play some video games. Huh? We got a lot of video games on the dock this week.
Indeed.
So yeah, we got a handful of games, about 4 games. 2, Oh, well, 3 on my part, 1 on your end, technically. But yeah, so we're gonna be talking about what we've been playing lately. And then once we get into our major topics, we're going to be talking about The Boys. I actually got to finally start. I know I'm a little bit behind everyone else Did Season 3 just wrap up, right? Or is it still going?
Season 3's been done.
Oh, well. So I'm way behind to everybody else. So we got Season 3. If you don't know, also Comic-Con just happened. So we'll go into some of the major things that got announced there. What else? I got to keep looking. I keep forgetting. So, oh, shoot. I lost my... See, this is what happens when I don't have my notes open.
And we will wrap up with Pokemon, because we can't keep ourselves away from the Pokemon talk. So
we just want more Pokemon after Pokemon Arceus.
Gotta chat.
And then I have another little kind of jokey topic that we will kind of talk about for a little bit.
Oh, they're all jokey topics, Chaz.
So what game did you want to talk about first? Did you want me to tackle one? Did you want to go ahead?
Why don't you start?
I have some big news. I will show it off here. So this kind of pertains to some of the games I've been playing lately. But I finally landed a PlayStation 5.
Can't even fit in the camera. Darn thing's too big.
Dude, this console is massive. I actually have it sitting right there next to my Series X, and it dwarfs the Series X. I mean, the Series X might be a little bit wider, man, but that PS5, man, that's
a tall boy.
It's girthy. Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. But
it's got those curves, man.
I guess I'll go ahead. You know what? I'll start with my first PlayStation 5 game that I started to play. Due to recommendation from Phoenix, he recommended I start playing the game Astro's Playroom. And I'll give it to Phoenix. I feel like that was a really good kind of entry-level title to kind of start with the PlayStation 5. I mean, I guess it kind of was meant...
Well, it was advertised as pretty much a free tech demo, so it's just a good way to get familiar with the console. So what did you think about it?
Controller. Yeah, it's like a big tech demo for the controller, too. But, I actually thought it was far better than it probably should have been.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually like a really fun game. I kind of liked the whole nostalgia trip kind of through like the history of like PlayStation. Oh man, it's killing me. I don't remember the levels, but there was like each one kind of represented a new like leap into technology for PlayStation. Like one was about RAM, another one was about like another one was about a solid state drive.
Mm-hmm.
Another one was represented like a cooling area. I don't remember what the fourth one might
the GPU one, the jungle one.
GPU. Oh, okay. Which actually, now that I think about it, I'm trying to remember which one I liked the most. There was one that was, oh man, which one? The second one. I'm trying to remember. The second one was my favorite. Not the one where you play as the ball. I'm trying to remember that one.
That's the... I know it's the one that ends with the PS1 stuff at the end, the Meadow one or whatever it is. Yeah.
That one's my favorite by far. I think the one I liked the least probably was Might have been the first one. I didn't really like the. Oh, I guess it depends on what order you go in. So me saying the first one, I guess doesn't really help
Yeah, I
people.
watched your playthrough, and you actually, I think the level you started with was the one that I ended with. So they were all
Really.
backwards, but
But yeah, I guess the best way to again, I can't remember which form of like or computer technology each one covered. The main way I kind of find myself remembering them is by which like vehicle or thing you inhabit at the end, because
hmm.
at one you get in a spaceship, two you get into a ball, there's a third one where you do a frog, and then what was the fourth one, was like
Monkey in the Jungle.
a monkey in the jungle, yeah. So I would definitely say the second one was probably my favorite. Do you remember which one you liked the most?
I don't know if I have a favorite per se. I mean, it's been a while since I ran through the whole game. To be fair though, my it's like a mainstay in my house. My daughter plays it just about every day. She always wants to play the robot game, so uh, I see her primarily play the beach level the most. But
Really, that's the cooling one. I remember that one.
yeah, but it was fun. I enjoyed like the nostalgia aspect for sure, and all the little Easter eggs. Like I don't know how many of them you came across, but you got like Kratos and his son on the beach. You got
I saw that
Snake
one.
hiding around. So they did a lot to kind of inject a lot of
I
personality
liked
into it and love for the
there was
PlayStation IPs and whatnot.
there was the Death Stranding guy stuck in mud. He
Oh
had like
yeah.
the little baby. He had like the baby stuck on his chest.
Mhm.
And then in the jungle one, if you look everywhere, there's like I think you see Crash Bandicoot on the side of one of the buildings, and then you see Lara Croft like hanging from a ledge, and then you see Uncharted, Drake, and all those people. You pretty much see, one of every major, I don't know, PlayStation character, which was kind of neat. I don't know. I again, I really enjoyed it. I mean, I'd say it took me maybe 2.5 hours to beat. And I don't want to say I was totally completionist, but I definitely made sure to kind of check everything. I think the only thing I didn't really do was some of the. I think when you beat the game, you unlock some like timed, like different versions of some of the levels. And I
Yeah,
think
there's
I
some
only did
quick
like
little
one or
speed runs.
yeah, I only did one or two of those. But I mean, everything else, I played through each level maybe two or three times or something like that, and I really enjoyed it. I liked all the music.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember, there was a specific song that I actually really liked. It was oh gosh, I'm not even gonna try. But the one on the level that I really liked where you play as the ball, that was the one that I actually found the best. That was also the one where there's like electricity or
Hmm.
something. But yeah, I don't know. I guess that's all I had to say. I mean, I thought it was a really fun game. It really, I guess, I thought it did an awesome job pretty much of kind of introducing you to every new feature for the controller.
So that was my kind of question
Um,
for you: is what like new feature kind of stood out to you? I mean, it's really about the controller. Like everything
mhm.
else, as far as the graphical power and whatnot of the console, I think is kind of a given. But the controller is kind of the big,
Yeah.
you could call it innovative or novel kind of thing they've introduced with the system. So, what do you think of the controller? Since that's kind of the big thing.
I really like it. I definitely think that at least with this game, I don't say with this game, but I think some of the features with the controller for me are a little bit gimmicky. Like the whole blowing on it, I was just kind of eh. Um, I mean, maybe it's because I have headphones on, but I don't think I remember hearing any sounds coming from it. And I
Mm,
remember that was like a big thing. So I guess if you're going to use it, you can't really have a headset on because you
that's a
won't be
good
able to hear.
point. Yeah, the audio on the controller. I mean, they've been doing that since the PS4, but the games I play on the PS5 use it fairly substantially. I'm trying to
Hmm.
remember which game I felt like used it a lot. Ghost of Tsushima used it a bit. That was pretty cool.
Really?
Yeah.
Why did it need it? I'm trying
Um,
to think of what it would even use it for.
it like cued you to parts things in the environment. Like it's almost like an ambient thing. It's not ever anything that's required of you from a gameplay standpoint, but it I want to add some immersion to it when you have like echoes or extra audio cues kind of coming from the controller. Sometimes it's like I don't want to say surround sound because that's the wrong way. Ambient really is probably the best way to describe it, but you'll have like sounds from the environment come through there while characters are speaking through the screen, or they'll flip it sometimes depending how close they are to you. Like there's some neat things they did.
I mean, again, I will say, I think because I had a headset on, I don't remember hearing anything coming from my controller.
Oh, that makes
When I have
sense.
when I have these headphones on, man, I can't hear. there could be World War III going outside, and I can't hear
Yeah,
a thing.
that's an interesting thing I never thought about because I mean I like the audio from the controller, but I don't use the headset too often. I never really thought about
Mhm.
those. If you use the headset, it's pretty much a wasted feature. So that's probably why it's never anything that's overly crucial to gameplay. It's always kind of just a extra
Yeah.
little add-on kind of deal. But
Definitely, I would say maybe the best. Well, I would say maybe definitely the best thing is probably the haptic feedback triggers.
mhm.
Which you guys kind of explained to me midstream. I was like, what is haptic feedback?
Well, you were kind of
Um,
right because haptics just mean touch. So I mean, you were kind of queuing up the touchpad, which is technically haptic,
oh
but
yeah.
we're talking about like haptic feedback. So the controller kind of rumbles and vibrates and gives you information about like trigger sensitivity and stuff like that.
I definitely think that is the big cool addition to the controller. I don't know if they did that for PlayStation 4. Again, I never
Mm,
owned one, so
no, they didn't.
but it definitely is cool. I mean, I even think the touchpad thing is even kind of gimmicky to an extent. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with gimmicky things. It definitely adds to some experiences, but for the most part, the main thing you want is for the controller to feel comfortable and for those triggers to feel great, whenever you're playing stuff. Because that's what you're going to be using mostly in you know, the main four buttons. But
Right.
I don't know. Yeah, all that felt great. I want to. I'll mention it. I mentioned in my stream. The only thing I don't like about the PlayStation controller is I don't like the place of the. I don't like the place of
You don't
the
like the
left side
parallel
analog stick.
sticks. Yeah.
No, I'm very much used to Xbox controllers where you have the D-pad here, analog here, and again, I got tiny hands. I'm a tiny hand man, and I just feel like I have to like really reach for that. And I
Hmm.
like it better up here. It feels more comfortable. I'd much rather have to reach for the D-pad. I don't.
I,
But
I, I agree to an extent. Like I've always, well, I won't say always, because I mean back when I was younger, I was a PlayStation kid, but I mean starting with 360 era, I was Xbox majority for the time. So I definitely got used to the staggered sticks, and I feel like I prefer. I feel like for the most part, most games, if you're thinking about kind of which controls you use the most, it makes most sense to have that joystick up at the top left and then face buttons on the right. But I'll tell you, for the PlayStation 5, it hasn't felt as awkward to me. Granted, my hands are not as tiny as yours, so
no,
I don't have as
you're
big of
taller
an
than me.
issue grabbing it. Because I honestly, I did not like the PS3 controller. I did not like the PS4 controller a whole lot. But the PS5 one, I feel like overall it's comfortable. I can get a hold of the analog just fine, and the triggers I think are a
I
big jump up.
I will say I would be kind of curious. Oh, what's playing? I don't even realize I'm playing stuff in the background. I would be very curious to see because I feel like with like a single player campaign story mode kind of game like Astros, I feel like it was fun. I'd be very curious how it would feel to play like a competitive shooter with the analogs
I
for
played
me, like in that location.
I played Destiny on it back in the day and played it just fine.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. It's whatever you get used to. I mean, people are going to argue one is better than the other. I mean, I do prefer staggered sticks, but ultimately you spend enough time with either one of them. They both perform well. They both, are accurate as long as you get used to where the positions are. Both can be used just fine. So I don't think
Hmm.
it's like some big major issue that this should be the reason you don't buy a PS5 is because the analog stick is down at the bottom. But if it is a big issue for you, they have controllers that have the swappable sticks. They can put the stick up at the top if you want, or they already have them built in that way. Granted, I think you lose the adaptive triggers if you go with one of those third-party controllers.
No,
But
I wouldn't
yeah,
want to lose that though. I guess while we're here, I'll go ahead and combine just my thoughts on the PS5 in general,
yeah,
I guess. Um, I would say so far so good. I really enjoy. I'm playing another game which we'll talk about, but Astros was a really fun, game, and I'm subscribed to the premium membership, so I have like an access to like a crap ton of games. I will say I'm not really crazy about the UI or maybe just like the dashboard in general. Like I don't think it's again, I skipped the PS4 generation and I'm coming straight from like the PlayStation 3 to PS5, which is probably odd
yeah.
for a lot of people. But I'm just not crazy about the dashboard. I think it's a little I think the Xbox is a little bit better in like just kind of figuring out where things are. Maybe it's just because I'm so used to that
I would think it's because you're
environment, that
used to it.
ecosystem.
Because I hear
Yeah.
all the time people come from PlayStation over the Xbox, they have a pain trying to find anything. So I think familiarity is really what's going to kind of lean you one way over the other.
Mhm.
I mean, I'll say my biggest issue, and it's been this way for a long time with PlayStation, they always try to go super minimal on their interface, which in general I would like. The problem is, like, it's hard, I think, to access, like, a bunch of your games and stuff easily. Like, they don't give you a lot of customization over, like, what you have on your main toolbar, how you can get to certain things. I know they are adding stuff. I don't know if they've done it yet, but they'll be adding folders and stuff like that that can help you more easily navigate games. But with the Xbox, you have all those pinned applications, which I've always
Yes,
liked.
which I
So,
love. Yeah.
I mean,
But we
I
also come from like a computer, like we deal a lot with computers though, so we're very much used to like the Windows, kind of ecosystem or kind of just
well, we're
figuring
not the
out. I
only two
don't know.
people in the world that use Windows. I mean,
Well,
they're
I know, but we're probably on the computer more than more than a lot of people. I don't
if
know.
you say so. I don't know. I mean, both interfaces have their pros and cons. Like, I do appreciate the minimal look that PlayStation always goes with, but it comes at the sacrifice of having less customization and less stuff to easily
Hmm.
access. I haven't had a major issue with it just yet, only because, I only have a handful of games on there. If I
It took
had 30, 40 games I wanted to jump around between, it's more of a hassle.
it took me like 20 minutes, I'm not kidding, to figure out how to, because I got a big, PlayStation 5 bundle, and it came with like 25 of those 20, or it came with four of those
Right.
$25 gift cards. It took me like 15 to 20 minutes to figure out where to go to redeem those cards. And
You could
I
have
I
looked at the
I,
instructions in the back of the card. Just saying.
I guess I could have, but I kind of want to like figure everything out myself. I mean, I kind of like kind of just it's a new console. I like kind of like playing around with things,
Well,
but
okay, so it was in the store. You go to the store, you click on redeem, and there it was. I mean, that's the same place
no,
that.
but the redeem button is at like the top right. There's like in the store, and then at the top right of the store, there's three like there's a button
Yeah,
with
it's a
like
menu
three
button.
dots, and then you hit that menu. And I don't know. I didn't know where that menu button was.
That's fair. I mean, I'm trying to play devil's advocate a little bit here. I've had just as many issues though on the Xbox dashboard. And here's one thing I will say about Xbox's dashboard, which is
The party stuff is sometimes it can be really infuriating.
well, okay, but that's a different issue. Here's my trying to think of a good way to frame this because it's a good and a bad thing. Xbox likes
Mm.
to change their interface all the time. Like, give it 6 months, they're going to change something about the way it looks, which is nice because you always have this evolving dashboard. But I'm always having to figure out where stuff is at. For a while, I kind of took a break from paying attention to all the changes, and I tried to find something after about a year or two of not really digging into it. It took me forever to find it, and that was on the Xbox, which I'm more familiar with in general. So, at least on PlayStation, for the most part, once they've set it a certain way, that's it. So, there's good and bad to both approaches. I mean, the PlayStation dashboard is perfectly functional. So I don't know. I think it's at least clean. I do like the cleanliness of it. The Xbox dashboard I felt has got a little more cluttered over the years. So I don't know.
And again, I'm like I'm like nitpicking. I'm not. There's absolutely nothing that I've encountered that's turned me off from it
Yeah.
so early. And I can guarantee you, this thing, I'm going to be playing the heck out of this thing for the next month or two.
Well, you got a
I'll
lot
play
of
Return.
PlayStation stuff to go back to
Yeah.
too.
It's actually funny. I was actually thinking. I don't know what you guys think. What it might, how that might go. But I'm actually thinking about maybe going through every God of War game leading up to the new one.
When you say
That's going to
every
be.
God of War game, are you talking about just the numbered ones? Are you talking about like Ascension and Chains of Olympus and was it Ghost of Sparta? There's a bunch of little mini ones that.
I think some of those, but I definitely at least want to play through the main four titles. Not granted that has nothing to do with PS5 because those are older games. But I don't know. I kind of was thinking of I don't know. I remember them being fairly short. I only played the first one. The first one was only
First one's
maybe 7 to 8 hours.
short. Yeah, 2 and 3 are a little longer. But you could do it if you get on it. When does Ragnarok come out? It's like
November 8th or 9th or
yeah, so you
something.
got time. I mean,
Yeah,
honestly, the newest God of War is gonna be the longest one for you to
that's
play.
the one. Yeah, that's probably the one I need to play the most out of all of them.
Yes, yeah.
Um,
Don't play the new one without playing that one.
yeah. All right, guys. So I'm gonna go ahead and move it on. Again, once again, PlayStation 5, super positive. Super glad I got one. You guys can thank Phoenix. He was very helpful in finding one. But so we're gonna move on. I guess which one do you want to move on to?
Why don't you go and stick
You
with
know
your
what?
PS5 stuff? Go and talk your next game, and
Talk
then I'll talk mine.
talk Returnal. Okay, we'll save the Xbox one for last, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll move on to Returnal. We'll play a little bit of my playthrough, my B-roll. But skip over here. But yeah, so I
Sorry.
But due to recommendation once again from Phoenix, I moved on to a game Returnal. I think he just wants me to join him in co-op. I think he's been itching to kind of blast through. What is it, the Tower of Sisyphus or something?
I
Is that the
don't
name of the?
I don't even know. I haven't messed with the co-op at all. Like I know you can play the campaign co-op, and then they have an extra mode. And I mean, it's not that I'm dying to play the co-op. I don't know if it's going to make the game better, worse, or somewhere in between. I just wanted somebody else to play the game so I could talk to him about it.
Yeah, because the tower you can see like right at the beginning of the game, like right when you start, it's like, oh, there's the tower, and you can only access that in like co-op. But
But that wasn't there
yeah.
when I played it because I think the DLC was given afterwards, so I don't think they
Oh,
made
that's
mention of it.
interesting. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to go too far into it. I mean, I'm still really early in the game. I feel like I'm maybe 3, 4 hours in. But so far so good. I'm really enjoying it. I will say I'm not quite like blown away like Phoenix thought I might be, but again, I'm still early. Because I guess the major comparison that Phoenix threw at me was a game called, it was a game called Hades that me and you really enjoyed.
Well,
So
I want to
maybe it's
be
because
careful about your Hades comparison. Like, I only mentioned Hades because, okay, this is technically a roguelike, but I think
mhm,
you're going to do yourself and the game a disservice if you really like straight up
comparing it
compare it to
to
Hades.
Hades.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
fair enough.
besides it being, death loop kind of game. It handles things very, very differently. And it's not that I thought you'd be blown away by it, but I did think you'd like the aesthetic of it because basically aliens in roguelike form. So
I think that's what I like the most. I would say so far, I'm not crazy about the gameplay. Like, I kind of like it's fast, twitchy, and kind of the weapons and all of that, but it's just
hmm.
not. I definitely enjoy the environment and the theme the most. Like, I love this planet. I love the creature designs, the whole. Um, when you. So basically, I guess this whole game, it's just I'm assuming it's the kind of game where like what is happening is not what actually is happening. But so you play as this lady. I don't remember her name already. What was her name? Uh but you play as this spacefarer,
Oh,
I think
Celine, that's her name.
Celine, yeah, she works for some I'll be honest, I don't really know exactly what's going on, but she works for this company called Astropos, and I don't know, I guess they're more of like discovery, kind of going out and just say finding things. And she lands on this planet and just keeps going through this revolving door of like dying and trying to figure out what's going on this planet, trying to get off of it most importantly. And it's kind of neat. Like it's kind of neat every time you go by, you kind of unlock a new like memory or new some sort of info into her past or into what exactly is going on. There's like this really cool house, which I guess is a representation of her house, and there's all sorts of things that bring back memories. I mean, of course, I'm assuming things aren't what they seem. There's something in the backgrounds controlling what she sees and what's happening. I don't know.
No, I'm not gonna get into any of the
Yeah, I
story
don't want
stuff.
spoilers or
Yeah,
nothing, but
I
yeah,
guess
for
I'm
that.
surprised because you said like the gameplay wasn't what was really catching. Honestly, like I mean, so the theming's good, and I figured you'd like the theming, but this game is really about the gameplay. And if you're not feeling like
Really?
you're jiving with the gameplay, then maybe this won't be a game for you. I loved the gameplay. That for me was hands down the best part of this game. I liked the twitchiness, quick response, kind of bullet hell shooter style 3D stuff.
It just it just doesn't feel as I don't want to say difficult. I've died a lot of times, but it doesn't feel like Hades, man, was like at a time was like brutal.
This
And
game
but like
gets brutal. You like I watched your
really?
first run
Okay.
and you did well. I think you lucked out in your first run a couple of ways. Like this
Hmm.
game, and I think you probably noticed this on your second and third playthrough or your run. It's about the gun you get, and which guns you end up as you go into certain rooms.
Yes. Hmm.
You ended up with a real, I think you had like one of the carbines with a couple of good perks on it when you were
That's my
going into the
favorite gun
first
is the
run.
carbine. Yeah.
Yeah, so that thing pretty much served you really well all the way up through the majority of your first run. When you
Hmm.
went for those second runs, though, I think you had a hard time finding like a good build of a gun,
Hmm.
and I think you struggle a little more because of that. So part of it is the gun you get, the perks you get with it. Then you have like what the malfunctions and stuff that you can kind of pick up along the way. The game gets hard. Like you probably went through the easiest portion of it. Man, I'm trying to think when the spike really hit me. I think right after I get past biome 2. You're intently biome 2 right now, kind of the red deserty world.
I'm the furthest I got was I made it to the base of the mountain in the red deserty world, and there was a like inhabitant
Yeah.
of the former world, and he was like clearly evil or taken over by something, and he knocked me into a hole and killed me.
So when you get to the boss of that world, I think that's your first big kind of difficulty spike. Um,
Okay.
so it's not easy. I mean, if you feel like it's been easy so far, I mean, kudos to you, but I'd be very surprised if you feel that way as you progress through it.
Yeah.
When you get into World 3, it gets super brutal, and it just gets harder
I
and harder as you go through stuff.
I think my one like thing that I don't really like is there's so much things that are kind of thrown at you that I don't understand
All the
how they
gameplay mechanics.
benefit or hurt Celine and her trial and her run through, and it's like there's like this affects this and this affects that, and there's like and most of the time I get it, but there's some that I'm like,
I think what
okay,
made
so
that a little harder for you was you had a really good first playthrough. So in one playthrough, they're throwing all these things at you that most people wouldn't get to even see after like three or
oh
four. Like most people like are going to go a few rooms, die, maybe see like one new item, one new tutorial screen, something like that. So they slowly kind of soak it in. But you had a good run all the way up through because you beat that first boss pretty much on your second attempt and made it into the second world. So you were getting
mhm.
all those triggers and tutorials leading all the way up to there, and I think it just probably got kind of overwhelming. So that was kind of interesting to see that because that didn't happen to me. I'm trying to think. I didn't. I don't remember how many times it took me to beat the first guy because the first time I got to the first boss,
Here it
I just
is.
had a crappy pistol, and he
Mhm.
is terrible to fight with a pistol. So he took me a couple of attempts to get through, and by then I had more time to kind of soak in the game systems and stuff like that. So I don't know. I mean,
Here's
I
a really
definitely want
fun
to say
battle.
stick with it.
Oh, I'm going to. I'm going to beat it. I don't know. I'm kind of it. So the game is more about this gameplay, and it's less. Is it less interesting in terms of like what is happening in the story and all of that
I
stuff?
wouldn't say that. I mean, the story is very interesting. At least I thought it was.
Okay.
It can be kind of a slow drip depending on how far you progress. Like that's one thing I do think, and I know I'm kind of breaking what I said here, but if I compare it to something like Hades, Hades does a really good job like giving you story beats more consistently, even if you don't get far in the game. This game, you kind of have to make some good strides at a certain point to kind of get more of the story kind of delved out to you. But it's got a story, and I don't without going to spoilers, I can't really go into it. I thought it was interesting. I thought it was pretty sad, pretty dark, um, but it was good.
Interesting.
Yeah, but the gameplay is
Okay.
really what this game is about. So I mean, if you're not digging the gameplay at any given point, I don't know
Still
what to
really
tell you.
early. Yeah, I'm still like crazy early in the game, so I don't want to. I don't want to say it. I'm enjoying it, and I definitely want to see it through. That's kind of where I'm at. I'm definitely going to see it through. I want to play it, and I at least want to play it co-op with you. I think that'll be fun to do. But I see. It's early. Again, I don't want to. I don't even want to crap on it. It's so early.
Fair enough. I am curious if co-op is if this is gonna be one of those games where when you go into co-op, if it makes it easier or harder. I don't know if this game scales at all.
Mhm.
Initially, I think it would just be easier. Because I mean, I think about I'm going in with my expertise of the game, so I mean, I already kind of have more guns at my disposal, stuff like that. So initially, I would think that would make things almost too easy, which is why I wanted you to kind of run through it on your own first. But
Mhm.
I don't know if the game scales and throws like extra enemies at you or gives them extra health, or I have no idea. So.
Fair enough. All right, guys. Well, I think whenever I beat it, maybe we'll come back and do another little chit chat about it. Kind of give. I think it might be interesting to come back and give my thoughts. Maybe see if I liked it any more, liked it any less. I don't know. But yeah. So Returnal, I'm playing through that right now. So we'll see if I may. I definitely want to at least play it. I'll play it a lot probably during the weekend. So okay. So what do you want to do? Do you want to tackle my next game or your next game?
I'll stick with mine just because we'll stay in the PS5 ecosystem for a little bit longer, and then
Okay.
we'll hop out. So I finally, I've had a chance to play Horizon Forbidden West, and I
See, you've
was,
been saying it for that long, and I honestly would have sold you my digital
oh,
copy,
it's
but you had
fine.
been saying it for so long that I assumed you had it already.
No, I was waiting until I actually had time to play it. I didn't put it off because I remember the first game I played it. I want to say it was like I did a lot of stuff in it, but it was like a 60-hour game when I played it. So I'm like, I need plenty of time. But I got like 1 week left for work gets kind of crazy, so I figured, okay,
Hmm.
now's kind of my opportunity. So I've been pretty hyped. I really enjoyed the first one. I mean, it's standard kind of open world game, but the first one, the gameplay was really solid. I don't know how familiar you are with Horizon at all, but the whole robot dinosaur shtick where you're kind of hunting them down, and kind of progressing through the world. I don't know.
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was fun at that level. So I was hoping that the sequel would kind of build upon that. I'll be honest,
From
man. I've been enjoying it, but
I
I'm
was gonna
fairly
say,
underwhelmed.
from what I've understand from a lot of reviews, like on IGN and stuff, the story for the second one for a lot of people has been kind of eh. But
I'm not even sure if it's the story. I mean, here's the thing: the first game, beyond just having good gameplay and a cool world to explore, the story was pretty interesting. Like it was nothing
isn't she?
groundbreaking. It was cliche in places and whatnot, kind of a end of the world kind of thing. And I don't want to spoil it, but basically she can revitalize some old technology to save the world. But the problem is like the first story wrapped up pretty well. It did leave some
It's one of those where it's like, oh, it's a good game. Yeah, it wraps up nice.
yeah, it definitely felt complete. I mean, they definitely had a thread there you could continue, and you're like, oh, okay, there's where the sequel's going to go. But I feel like the sequel, at least the way it started, the pacing was really awkward. Like at the very beginning, it just drops this huge exposition dump at you, and basically, it summarizes the whole first game and kind of what's going on. Which I mean, that makes sense. I mean, if you're coming in
On
from
the
a
last
sequel,
episode of Dragon Horizon.
yeah, I think the problem is like this game has some weird like techno babble and stuff in it, and it's a lot of kind of nonsense to go through right through at the beginning, so it kind of kills the pacing, whether you're new to the game or not, which I don't recommend play this game before the first one. If you haven't played the first Horizon, do that before you even touch this game, if at all. So that slowed the game down. Go ahead.
It looks like that. Oh, that she was right in one of them. I was saying, it looks like Dino Riders.
Yeah.
Nobody remembers Dino Riders.
Oh, I remember Dino Riders.
I love Dino.
But anyway, so the story starts to kind of slow. I don't feel like, at least from where I'm at, I think I'm about halfway through the game right now. The story, I don't think, is any more interesting than what happened in the first game. I don't know. It's a lot more. It's easier to anticipate. I don't know. Everything just feels the same, if that makes sense.
Does it feel like an unnecessary sequel?
Yeah, like it's I don't know. I feel like I'm going down hard on the game because I do enjoy it, and if you enjoy the gameplay and what Horizon is from the first game, you'll enjoy this. But I don't feel like you need this. Like, I don't. I'm sorry. I'm trying to think what is actually different about this game, even from a gameplay standpoint, from the first game. I feel like I'm hitting all the same beats, and it's still fun.
Really?
Because I remember when I finished the first Horizon, I'm like, oh, I wish I could have more of this to play. So I think if this game would have been available right then and there, that would have been fine. But now after having, I think a couple of years to kind of have higher expectations and want a little more of a reinventing of the wheel, I don't feel like the wheel's been touched at all here. It is the same game through and through. It looks pretty. So I mean, I'm sure one of the big jumps up is just from graphical fidelity, but as far as the gameplay itself,
I don't mean to throw shade at PlayStation. I like PlayStation, but hearing all of this makes me kind of wonder about the status of PlayStation right now. Like, because if you really think about it, a lot of the titles that they have coming out recently are many are sequels, or there's also a remake. So I wonder, like, is PlayStation going, like, not saying
I wouldn't.
pull this all year round, but are they going through like a small little period of where they're like, okay, we need a game, or you need games out, you know what I mean?
So I think there's two sides to that. I don't think this is the game you should use as the harbinger for
I
the
was looking
downfall
more at
of
like Last of Us, considering that game's been
that.
released like 3 to 4 times.
That's a whole nother conversation. Here's the thing with this game: the production values through the roof. Sony put all their money into making a good, solid game, and it is. I mean, I'm coming hard at this game.
I'm not
but
saying they are. I just threw out a hypothetical.
here's my point: this game is good. It's not a bad game. It is a good, solid game. It is not going to blow you away. If you played the first one, it's going to feel like the first one, for better or for worse. If you are okay with just more Horizon, you're going to enjoy this. If you're wanting anything more than that, you're going to be let down. But I think this is a particular case. There are plenty of other sequels that PlayStation put out that I don't think are going to follow the same pitfalls that this one has. Like, I don't think Ragnarok is going to be stuck in the same form. I would hope not. I'm hoping Ragnarok is going to take bigger leaps forward. But
yeah, I would at least hope that when a game comes out, though, that it like builds on the lore. It
and this
feels
does.
like it's a worthy successor and stuff like that.
I don't know. I think it's hard. I think it's hard with this game because the first game was so well
It was so good.
envisioned. Like, thinking about what they could have even at the time of taken up a notch from the first game, I'd be hard pressed to really think of something. And they were probably in that same boat. They're like, I don't want to break what's already working, so they probably polished some things up, added some more missions, and built up the lore, some which they did. I think you're just kind of in this weird spot where you already had a really really good game, that
Hmm.
sophomore slump kind of situation. So I don't know. I think I'm going down the wrong route here.
Yeah.
I am enjoying the game. I will say this though: if you played the first game and you were happy with your experience of the first game, you don't need to play this game. At least not anytime soon, unless you get it cheap, like
A
15,
budget.
20 bucks. Yeah, don't go
Or when this
spend.
comes to Game Plus or PlayStation
Yeah,
Plus
whatever
at
the
some
subscription.
point.
It's a good play if you're just wanting spend some more time in this world, but you are not going to be blown away by any advancements or anything. So just gauge your expectations accordingly, and you should be good. It's a fun game. I'm enjoying my time with it. I am going to finish it, but as I said, just a little underwhelmed because I had higher expectations than I think what it's kind
Hmm.
of delivering on.
And I feel like I don't feel like it's necessarily a bad thing to have of Sony first party games. I mean that speaks to the quality and to the reputation that many Sony first party games have. I mean, a lot of them have been so good that people just Sony people are they're expecting high quality content whenever it comes out in its first party.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily think that's like a bad thing having high expectations for them.
I'll tell you one other weird thing about this game, and it didn't really impact me as much just because it took me so long to have time to play it in the first place, but this game came out in that Maniac month where it was, Elden Ring came out, and, what's the,
Ugh,
so some, I'm not going down that road, but I mean, like, there were a
yeah,
bunch of other high profile games that kind of buried this game.
Arceus, right? Didn't Arceus come out around then?
It came out a little earlier. There was another larger title though. Regardless, there was a lot of stuff that
Yeah.
overshadowed Horizon, which at first I think people looked at as a negative because this game wasn't able to shine. I kind of think that was probably a good thing because I think if this game would have stood on its own and there was
Might
nothing
have
to
been
overshadow
Forza.
it.
Might have been
Forza was
Forza.
earlier than that. Forza was last year.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh shoot. Sheesh, sheesh.
Yeah. My point being, now that you've sidetracked me,
Uh,
I think it's kind of good it got buried because I think if this game
mhm.
just had to be this flagship title all on its own
If
with
it was a
nothing else to take
tent
away
pole,
from,
yeah.
I think people would have noticed the chinks in it even more so. Like, I mean, I read some of the reviews back when it came out, and I noticed people saying kind of the stuff I'm now saying.
Hmm.
But I think it probably would have come across more negative if people didn't have other stuff to play at the time. So I think it kind of worked out in Sony's favor that it was a little more hidden. And I think over time people are going to enjoy this, in the suite of PlayStation library, having a good quality game there to always come back to. But wasn't as I think
It's
amazing as it could have been.
interesting. I mean, I hate to say it, what I took away most from your little your mini review is that I really want to play the first one now. Makes me want to play the first one even
The
more.
first one's great. I mean, everything that makes the sequel good is in the first game. I think that's what I have a
Hmm.
hard time with. Is I'm enjoying two, but it's all stuff that was in one. So I mean, I could have. There are a couple of cool environments that are in this new game that I do think blow the first game out of the water. I always like to come back to this particular environment in certain games whenever I see it represented because this is, I know, a franchise that you're really big on, Fallout, but Fallout New Vegas. I was extremely underwhelmed when I got to the Vegas Strip. And for me, that hurt the whole game for me. I know people love New Vegas. They put that as kind of like the upper echelon of Fallout. I don't.
In the name. It's in the name. It's
Yeah.
in the name of the game.
But I don't know. I was very underwhelmed when I got to the Vegas Strip. Where I'm going with this is they have a representation of Vegas in this game, and to me, it blows just about every representation I've seen of Vegas out of the water. So
Really.
that was really, really cool. I've enjoyed my segments there, but that alone is not enough, I think, to sell you on needing the sequel. But yes, play the first game. It's definitely worth your time. You'll have a good time with it.
You know what I think could have made this title more interesting is if Ashley Birch would have done her Tiny Tina voice for that character the entire time.
Man, I
Like,
tell you, I think when I played the first game, I didn't really catch that
can you
that was
tell?
her.
You can't tell it's her.
Oh, I can now. Now that I'm paying
Okay.
attention to it. The first game, maybe it's 'cause I hadn't played a whole lot of games with her in it at that point. I don't know, but after spending more time with her work and other games, I see all of her other characters as I'm playing this game, for
Yeah.
better or for worse. She
Yeah.
sounds the same, but either
Yeah.
way.
I will say, like, over time, that is one other mild criticism I've heard of this series is that Aloy, is
Mm.
that she's not the greatest like main character. She's
She's
kind
one
of
note.
bland.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which
kind
is
of similar
normally
to like
fine. Like the first game, I think it masked it a little better because you got more of her, background, which I think kind of gave her, a little more relatability in some places. And there were other characters that you were meeting and bouncing off the personality from that made the interaction still enjoyable. This
Mhm.
game doesn't have as many new characters, at least not ones that you care about. So I think you're really left just with her and her performance and her personality, which, yeah, it's pretty one note for most of the game. It's not terrible. I mean, it's fine. She delivers her lines really, really well, but the character is just written kind of into the world, doom and gloom, which, is
Yeah,
what it is.
which kind of reminds me that kind of criticism that like there's certain titles that kind of like immediately jump into my head. I remember like Assassin's Creed. Everyone thought Desmond was super boring. I remember with Watch Dogs, everyone thought whatever his name was boring. I
Yeah.
don't. It's not uncommon, unfortunately.
Yeah, it does. Here's the thing: it's not like the voice acting or anything is delivered poorly. So I mean, the quality's still there, so it's not going to distract you from anything. There are other things in
Hmm.
this game I think they're going to upset you more than her performance, or I shouldn't say performance, performance as well. But her character being a little one note, if that's an issue for you, it's not a big deal. I'll be honest. I mean, throughout the game, there's other things you can critique. I'd let that one slide.
Yeah, fair enough. Once again, I'm super excited, so I'll definitely let you guys know whenever I decide to do a stream of the first one and whatnot.
And you won't get around to
Um,
that game. You got all the God of Wars to play. You
Dude,
got to get
all the
through
God of
Eternal.
Wars,
Then you got Pokemon
Uncharted,
coming out. Yeah,
Last of Us's. I still haven't played either of those.
yeah.
Sheesh.
Let's not go down the Last of
Um,
Us road. That would be.
Infamous. Haven't played any Infamouses. I want to play the Spider-Man. Haven't played any of the Spider-Mans. I
Oh, you
got
definitely need to play the Spider Mans. Like those should
yeah,
be high up on your list after you finish God of War.
fair enough. All right, guys. So that is three games down. We got one left for me to talk about. So a game I decided to kind of play just before my PlayStation 5 came in was I decided to play the game A Plague Tale: Innocence. And I will say immediately right off the bat, this is one of the best games I've played in the last. I don't want to say best, but it's one of the better games I've played in the last 5 years. And I mean, I had heard really good things about it. Everyone who I had really good reviews, but this game graphically and in terms of like delivering new mechanics is like really freaking cool. It's a really cool game. If you don't know, I decided to play it on PC on Game Pass, which luckily that was a great decision. It was like really good looking on Game Pass PC, which is especially nice to hear after trying Mortal Kombat on Game Pass PC. Which, if you don't know, I did not have a great experience with that, but definitely this game runs and looks great. Um, it's it's almost kind of weird to explain. I mean, the game definitely it takes place back during the Black Plague in I think it's in France. But yeah, it's a crazy story of this family and this boy. The main characters are this girl and her brother, Amicia and Hugo. And basically, the little boy's kind of mainly the major character, but essentially there's some sort of connection between this family and the boy Hugo and the Black Plague. And I don't know if you've seen trailers or anything, but the Black Plague is being spread by what else? Rats. And the rats are essentially like the best part about the game. Um, I don't want to go too deep because there are like really cool story, bits between Hugo, the rats, Amicia. But yeah, it's really cool, man. I, I would say the main story kind of basically is just the what is this? What is the group? Oh shoot, the Inquisition who works for like the church is looking for the boy Hugo, and they essentially want he has some sort of blood their family has from like I don't know centuries and centuries. I don't know. I'm doing a poor job explaining the story. The story is very simple. It's basically you play as the Amicia and Hugo, and you just want to try and cure Hugo of his disease and kind of just get down to what's going on with these rats and the plague and figure out just exactly what's going on with them. Um, So I don't know. Was there any like beginning questions you have? I feel like I'm doing a bad job
Um,
explaining the main plot.
so I mean, I've been seeing this game, I mean, for years. Since it came out, I've heard people always
Hmm.
kind of rave and talk about it for various reasons. I didn't watch much of your Let's Play. I apologize,
Hmm.
but every time I've
No, it's
ever
fun.
seen anything about it, all I can think of is that looks boring. Like all I ever see is them, walking, waving their torch, pushing rats away. And the rat technology is cool to think that, rat technology is a selling point to the game. But like what is
Hmm.
the gameplay besides, navigating the rats? I saw there was some light combat and stealth and stuff there. I mean, beyond that, what's the
That
game?
is a fair criticism, and I will agree with you to an extent. That is a large portion of the game. It is very much a sneaking and walking simulator. You are basically throughout the whole game. It's short. I mean, I think I finished in 8 to 9 hours,
So the
but
story is the thing that pulls you through. Okay.
the story is the thing that well, the story is kind of simple in itself, but it has some like really cool turns, and there's definitely some surprising things in there. But makes I'd say most importantly, my favorite part about it was the mechanics involving the rats and some of there's additional gameplay sections that are like really cool. It does a really good job of mixing things up. Um, trying to the it's just kind of cool because throughout the game you kind of avoid the rats and you're kind of fighting them off. And then there is a thing that happens later in the game where it makes them even cooler. And the kids, Amicia and Hugo, have like a really good story arc. They kind of start off fearful and stuff, and they kind of definitely progress as people and as humans throughout the game. And I don't know, it definitely takes from other things. Like I would say, in my opinion, it feels very like Goonie-ish, where it's
Hmm.
like, these kids kind of trying to stave off the attack of the
This
Inquisition and
this
the
game looked
church and
far
all of
too
that stuff.
depressing to relate it to the Goonies. Like the Goonies, I look at as very light-hearted adventure time. This you're dealing with the Black Plague and the rats around and people trying to kill these two little kids. I don't know. To me, I know
It
the other
is,
half is like it had a very depressing, dark
yeah.
tone to it. Um, I don't know. This just didn't check any boxes for me. I'm not saying it's not a good game or the
Hmm.
story may be fantastic, but I don't know. At least from outside looking in, nothing about it was overly appealing. I said the rat stuff, I mean, it's cool, but I played plenty of stealth games. The
Hmm.
combat and stealth looks fairly traditional. Like I don't see anything like reinvented the wheel there. So it really would, I'm sure, as you're saying, have to be something where the narrative is what kind of is pulling you along, which is perfectly fine.
Yeah. And let's see. I definitely had some comparisons. For me, it felt very heavily like something like I don't want to say heavily, but there were some aspects of games like The Last of Us, very
Mm.
much Dishonored. If the first Dishonored, I think I got a lot of feelings of just because of like the things you do with the rats, along with like the kind of like you were saying dour nature of this world and what's happening it, to me, I got Dishonored, and then there are even sections. A lot of it's like sneaking. So I even got like some um, thief feelings like later on in the game when you start getting into towns and stuff.
Mm.
Because I don't know. I overall I really enjoyed it. I feel like a lot of the places you go in the game are like really beautiful. There's like a lot of different colors. Like it
I'm
is kind
sorry.
of dark
I'm
and
just looking at the B roll, and you're like, "This is beautiful.
oh
There's color," and it's just like gray, brown, cave, dungeon. Like, I don't know. I'm not
there
trying to downplay. I'm sure there are
there
moments in the game that are different than that, but
There
I don't
there
know.
is lots of color in the game. Like the entire game is not the rats. Like there are many sections that do not involve the rats. Like there's a whole chase section that involves other humans, within a town, and you go into caves. I don't know. There are other locations, but yes, uh, I'd say there's a lot of rats. There's also there's I feel like the game mixes it up though. It's not all just about the rats and stuff. There's some like some boss battles, dream sequences. There, a lot of it is, yeah. If you don't like sneaking, it's probably not your game because your enemies are way more prepared for battling two children
I
than I
would
would say.
imagine.
Yeah.
All right, that's fair. I mean,
Um.
I say I'm not trying to come down on your opinion of the
No.
game. I
No.
just I don't know. This has been a hard one for me to ever kind of garner any interest for. Like, I know a sequel is about to come out and people are pretty psyched
Hmm.
about it, but
That's the main reason why I wanted to play it.
yeah, but I don't know. This does not, I don't know, excite me to want to play the
Hmm.
first game, let alone a sequel. But that might just be me and my
Yeah,
messed up brain. I don't know. So,
I would say I will say to kind of combat that, what at least is super interesting and cool about this game is that it is polished and quality as heck, man.
mm,
It is, and considering this is what was this company's name? It's not a Sobi, it's something like that because it's a Sobi or a
it's not.
Sobo. I
Yeah,
think it's
it's
a
not Asobi.
Sobo
Asobi is the one
Studios.
who did
A
Astros.
Sobi's at Astro's World or Astro's World. That's Travis Scott. That's music. Astro's Playroom.
Let's not talk
But
about
yeah,
Astro World.
yeah. Let's not talk about. No one's talking about Astro. But yeah, it's interesting because this is a start or not a startup. It's a company that has an experience of making like movies, what is it, movie tie-in games,
Mhm.
and they come from a background. And this was like their first major like go at like a major, a new IP for like a major, you know, a major release. And man, they made like, I will say it is kind of simple, like you were saying, like the story isn't all that incredible, but it has like some cool twists and turns, and the mechanics are cool enough that I think it's super impressive what they were able to make considering it's their first major go, and the quality is like it's super polished. Like I don't remember seeing any like fault, pop in or like I don't know. Considering the amount of rats that are on screen, it's kind of impressive how good it looks. I
Yeah.
think I don't know.
Well, that's
Maybe
all
I'm easy
fair.
to impress. I don't know.
That's all fair. As I, you're not the only person to like this game. I've seen plenty of
Mhm.
people, speak really well of it. I think it just depends on, what your preferences are with games and kind of, what you lean towards. For me, not many boxes checked, but apparently for you, quite a few. So that's
And
awesome.
it may be dark, and it may be dark and dour, but I wasn't kidding when I said to me it reminded me of the Goonies because like as you continue on in the game, your like kid group kind of grows. You kind
Mm,
of add different kids who like have different abilities or expertises, and as you add each one, it adds different gameplay elements. Like you add like one of them is a alchemist, and then you add like a smith kid, and like you add thieves. It's like it's really
sure.
cool as you add each one. It definitely adds to like the repertoire of the kids. And I'll just say if you play this game, uh, I guess another thing that kind of touches on the arc of the kids is man, Hugo and Amicia by like the end of this game are like so freaking cool because they start out like kind of they're normal children, kind of whimpering and complaining, but they do have like good voice acting and good chemistry you know as as characters. I don't. It's really great. I would just say maybe like my one like major. I don't say major, but my one like kind of gripe is the end battle is kind of eh. I don't want to say it's BioShock 1 levels of final battle, but it's not great. At least I didn't think it was. But other than that, I definitely think if you at least have Game Pass, this is a must play. I think if you have Xbox Game Pass and you're looking for something under 10 hours that's polished, this is like you got to play this one. At least until the next one comes out, which is what later on this year, I think.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
But yeah, so yeah.
All right. Very
So
nice.
that was a Plague Tale Innocence. So I guess we'll touch on our first. I don't even want to call this first major topic because I don't even think it's that major. But we will move on. We'll be actually be super quick with it. I feel like we went on pretty long with the games. But just kind of a funny thing that happened during the week is Phil Spencer became a traitor to the Xbox brand. If you didn't know, uh, basically, I don't know. I don't know how you would want to see these tweets. Basically, everything that's happened here is basically in tweets. I guess I'll just read them. How's that?
That's fine. I don't know what you have to display.
Would it be better if I just moved it over here?
Sure.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, just blow up your browser real quick and I'll pop it up.
Yeah. But basically, yeah, I kind of just have pictures of these tweets. But
Go ahead and zoom in a
it,
little
it
bit because it's a little hard to see.
oh oh yeah.
Control
How do
plus.
I zoom? Yeah. Okay. Better.
Yeah, it'll be alright.
Right. So basically, what kind of threw some people into into a fit over the week is that Phil Spencer or the Xbox actual Twitter on their they posted something about talking about games, just kind of wanted to hear what people were excited for, what was their first games played. I mean, you can see it here. It says first game, last game, favorite game, game you play the most, game you want to play next, first game you'd show a caveman. So Phil Spencer, as the Xbox guy himself, decided to answer all of these, and a lot of people were not. Well, I'll say a lot. Some people were not very happy with what he answered with. Right here, he says, "Game you want to play next." He tweeted God of War Ragnarok, which, as the head of Xbox, I mean, I personally don't see anything wrong with that. But the Xbox fanboys were uh, all upset, and the PlayStation people were, or the what do they call them, Sony ponies? They were more than happy to kind of jump on Phil Spencer and kind of make fun of him, I guess. And then just kind of that, just kind of led into other people just kind of chiming in. I mean, you can see Ed Boon right here. He tweeted, "Speaking of, I really want to play Street Fighter 6," kind of responding to Phil Spencer and what he said. And then later on in the day, we had Cory Barlog, who, if you don't know, he is the head of, I think he's the head of Sony Santa Monica, who does the God of War games. He also tweeted, "I am so effing excited for Starfield. I'm taking time off when that ish comes out." So, again, nothing crazy, you would think, but all of these tweets were kind of enough to, I don't know, just kind of get the console war people all in a tizzy, and like it just, for me, it was just kind of funny because I'm just like, yeah, dude, it's people enjoying other people's games. What's wrong with that? I don't know.
I don't
Again,
know.
nothing major.
Yeah, this isn't a
I
story to
just
me. This is not the first
really.
time that they've done stuff like this. Like, I remember way back, I don't remember exactly when it was, but they had the boss of PlayStation talking about some Xbox game. Like, here's the thing. For one, I'm be surprised how many of these upper level CEOs play any games, period, for their own
Mm-hmm.
company or another company. So the
Apparently Phil
fact
does a lot.
yeah, so the fact
He
that
makes
you
multiple
have
games.
someone, hopefully, in the upper tiers of your company that is engaging with games as an art form, period, is great. I mean, it's not like he doesn't play Xbox games. Of course he does. But let's be real. No one console has all the best games. So I think it's great that he's wanting to play God of War. I'm wanting to play God of War. I like, God of War as
Mm-hmm.
much as the next guy. And I'll hop
I'm more
back
of an
whenever Gears
Xbox
of War
guy,
comes
and
out.
I'm more of an Xbox guy, and I just got a PlayStation 5 because I want to play God of War and the other first party stuff Sony has. Like
Yeah, and this is just,
it's ridiculous.
going back to console wars from generations past, which stems from people who can only get one console for whatever reason, and they want to justify their console purchase for better or for
Mm-hmm.
worse. So I'm not coming down on that. I mean, you chose your console for whatever reason you chose your console, but there's no reason to come down on anybody else about it. So I
Yeah,
don't know. Good on Phil Spencer for, wanting to bridge the gap a little bit and,
it's
see what the other side is like. I don't know.
it's all a bunch of nothing. I just kind of enjoyed the console war people. I don't know. I kind of just enjoyed seeing them kind of freak out about it.
Well, here's
I'm
the
on Twitter,
thing,
so
too. Like from a realistic standpoint, I would hope that these, whoever's like a lead game developer for, say, like what was it, Ed Boon for Mortal Kombat, he should be looking at other games like Street Fighter and be excited to play those because that's how you learn what you want to incorporate into your game. If you don't know what the competition's doing, you don't know what new features and new innovations are being made to incorporate into your own game. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's great when you see people from the industry, cross pollinating, if you will, and, playing games from other studios and other platforms
hmm
because it helps the industry grow and evolve. So if you're in the boat that, oh, only Xbox players should only play Xbox games, should never care about anything else, and vice versa, that's a real small minded look to have.
no, I totally agree. Once again, I didn't consider this a major story. I just thought it was fun.
Oh,
Just
no,
kind of
you
like
put it in the
look.
script or in the lineup, so you clearly thought this was worthy of at least an hour's worth of talk. So how are you going to fill the next 45 minutes?
Well, I'll fill up the next 5 minutes. What I thought would be kind of fun is I saw the people doing this as well. But did you want to kind of fill out this little questionnaire here
Oh,
real
okay.
quick? I thought it might be kind of fun. I mean, I know other people were giving their answers. So can you see these, or do you want me to call them out to you?
No, I can see him. So, first game as in first game I've ever played.
I believe it's the first game you've played, the last game you've played, and then yeah, it's all the rest.
Man. I mean, I
I'll do
can't.
mine after years.
Yeah, I can't recall what my first game is. It's gonna be a Mario. I just don't know which one. I'm gonna assume it was Mario One.
See, I would say a Pokemon because I think my Game Boy, the OG Game Boy, the
Mhm.
big boy somewhere behind me, I think probably one of the Pokemon games, Pokemon Blue or Red, might have been like my first. I don't know, it probably isn't my first, but it's the first major like game I owned.
Yeah.
So I would say Pokemon. What about your last game that you played?
Well, if
Well,
we're
you're playing
counting,
Horizon.
yeah, Horizon. I mean, if I'm thinking a game
And
before that, I actually
I'll just say
completed.
Returnal. That's the one I'm
Yeah,
the,
that's the most
the other
recent
two.
one.
What's your favorite game? I'm curious to see if mine and yours is the
Yeah,
same
we have
one.
the same answer we have for a while. It's still Mass Effect. I will
Which
say,
one? The first one?
so I've gone back and forth a lot. Because I played through all of them again when the Legendary Collection came out, what, a year or
Mm-hmm.
so ago? Which, did you ever give that back to me? Maybe? I don't remember.
No, I still have it
Oh,
on
he stole
behind me.
my game. No, it's fine.
You can just take it back. I'm gonna be playing PlayStation 5 for like 3 months. So.
That's fine. I used to put Mass Effect 2 as the highest one, but after going back and playing all of them, including Andromeda, which, man, that was a game.
Mhm. You played Andromeda?
I did.
Oh, I never finished it.
Oh, we should have a talk about that one day. But
Yeah.
one thing I was surprised about was how much I enjoyed 3. 3 is so much better going back and playing it, especially with all the new DLC. There's some really good stuff in there.
Mm.
2, I was actually more disappointed with from like gameplay changes and stuff they made. Like I ended up going back to 1 being my favorite one. So
Mm.
Mass Effect 1, especially with some of the new additions they made in the Legendary Edition. Yeah, it's favorite
See,
game.
if I'm going off of prior memory, I would say Mass Effect 2, but it's been a long time since I played that, and I tell you what, Mass Effect 1 gets better and better like every time I play it. So I would go with 1.
Yeah, it's not about 2. I think partially is because it's all about, your suicide mission squad or whatever. Like once you played through that story once, I don't know, like it's hard to get that same level of intrigue ever again because you
Mhm.
already know exactly how to, build your team, what to do. And a lot of the beats just fall a little maybe overly familiar. I don't know. One just felt more RPG-ish, which I thought was really nice. It was a little more flexible with some stuff. I don't know. I had an eerier tone. The tone felt better in
Yeah.
the first game. I don't know.
There's
That
not
can be a
much I remember
conversation
about
for another.
2. The only thing I remember about 2 is like some of the side
Two
characters and
got
all of
real
their missions,
linear too. I think it was my biggest problem.
Omega
Like,
and all that stuff. Yeah.
yeah, like for a lot of the little side missions and whatnot, it got really stringent. I noticed it going from 1 to 2 and then back to 3. It really like just
Mhm.
I don't know. It lost some of the more organic nature to some of the worlds and whatnot. But never mind. I'm sorry. I'm getting way off
No,
topic
you're
here.
good.
But yeah,
What's the
Mass
game
Effect
you've played the
1.
most? What's the game you've played the most?
Oh, it's Destiny.
I
I
would say Destiny.
I hate to
Yeah.
say that, but I know I've got thousands of hours in Destiny. There's no game that's gonna come close
I
to
think
that.
I was at 2 to 3,000. I think you were more up to like 4 or 5.
I don't know, and I am afraid to even look. So I don't know if it will
Mm.
ever be. I hope there will never be a game that ever reaches those levels again. So yeah, it's
So
Destiny.
the next game you want to play.
Oh, I don't know, because Horizon was the only game I
Between
had on my docket. The only other thing I can think of, I mean, there's God of War, but
Starfield or God of War, one of those
Starfield,
two.
just when it comes, I'll be excited to play it, but I'm not dying to play it. I'm kind of in the same boat with God of War. Like, I'm looking forward to God of War, but I'm not super hyped about it. Um, the game I want to play next. I don't know. I'm actually, and we'll talk more about this later, I'm getting more intrigued about Pokemon.
Mm.
Only because Arceus, I was really surprised by, and that kind of got me back into Pokemon quite a
You
bit.
just want to see if they build on that thing
Yeah, and we
anymore.
can come back to that topic in a minute, but that's
Yeah,
probably
we
the one
will.
I'm most intrigued to try
Interesting.
next.
I'll go with God of War. I'll be basic. And then the first game you'd show a caveman. That's I gotta think about that
A
one.
caveman? Okay, well, what am I trying to show him? I'd do a VR game. I'd blow his primitive mind. Like, I mean, I
Game.
don't know. I'm not trying to show him like whatever the best game is in the world. Like, I think a caveman, he's gonna want to see the most impressive looking thing. So, yeah, I'd do VR, just some crazy mind bending game that they couldn't imagine.
Gosh, I'm trying to think. Game I'd show a caveman. Uh, shoot, that's so tough.
It's a weird question. I think
I
what they're
know.
trying to get at is like, what's some amazing game that you would want
What's
to,
a representation of the future of games?
or
What's like
just
the best
games in general. Like
representation?
if you were going to be like show someone who's never seen a game, what is a game? This is it.
Hmm.
But cavemen like is such a primitive mindset to look at. Like I don't look at that as like showing them this invaluable piece of creative artwork. Like they're just looking at this weird technology. They're not going to know, a Mario from a Mass Effect. So I don't know. A weird question.
I'd probably show them. I'll go Pokemon Snap. I love Pokemon Snap. That's a
Okay.
game I can play anytime. It's super short. I don't know. Something
I'd
weird
show
like
them
that.
the Rick and Morty VR game. I'd blow their mind. It'd be great.
Rick and Morty. All right, guys. So that was that. So now we're gonna move on to topic numero dos.
Oh, we're
So
only on
I
topic two.
had
Man, we're never gonna get done with these conversations.
well, this I feel like this one will be quick. So over the week, something else that really happened over in San Diego was Comic Con. Comic Con happened, and I feel like most people who walked away from it were kind of I'd say bummed, but I don't know. I feel like it just kind of wasn't super. It was a little bit lackluster in terms of announcements, especially a lot of the DC fans. But I don't know. How did you kind of want to approach this? Did you just want to just talk about what you wanted? Do you want me to just
um,
name off things?
yeah, I like. Here's the thing. I didn't watch a whole lot of the stuff coming out of it. I saw the trailers, and here's the weird thing: like Comic Con, at least at a really high level, has pretty much just boiled down into okay, what is the Marvel cinematic stuff? What is the DC cinematic stuff? I mean, I'm not saying there
Mhm.
isn't other comic news, but that's the big boilerplate stuff. So, I mean,
I'll just
let's
I'll
do
just name off.
DC. That'll probably be the shortest category. Let's talk DC releases, and then we'll do Marvel.
Okay. Well, before that, I just want to mention that something that I thought was not crazy, but they announced the release date for the Cowabunga collection
Hmm.
TMNT. That's coming out August
I
30th.
feel like
So,
they
oh,
already
that's this
mentioned
month.
that. Maybe not.
Did they already? That was like a big announcement, I thought.
I could be wrong,
Um,
but
so yeah, I guess just some of the major stuff DC oriented is they showed a new trailer for. I mean, I'm not going into all the comic oriented stuff. I'm just sticking straight movies and TV shows.
yeah,
But
that's where I'll stay.
um, yeah, they showed a new trailer for Shazam 2. Eh, I didn't wasn't crazy about the first one. It wasn't bad, but
It was
it
fine.
kind of reminded me of the first Wonder Woman movie, where like I walked away like it was decent, and then forgot all about it.
I liked it better than Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman drove me crazy towards the end. But yeah, I
That
mean,
ending was so bad.
but I
My
agree
goodness.
it was forgettable-ish. But I feel like that. I mean, honestly, it doesn't matter if it's a DC movie or Marvel movie; they all kind of go in that
Hmm.
direction nowadays.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Shazam's never been a huge character for me, either way. So I mean, I did not hate it. I liked Zachary Levi in the first one, so I mean, it would be a fun popcorn flick kind of deal. But I don't have any other anticipation beyond that.
Hmm. I guess the other DC, there was only one other one that I saw. That was Black Adam. I think they showed some more Aquaman, but they didn't really show a heck of a whole lot. Oh, they did announce Batfleck is going to be an Aquaman. That was another announcement they made, which
Yeah,
is kind of interesting to see them do.
I'm kind of
Could
excited that they're pulling him back in. Like, I know he had real negative things to say about his time working on Justice League and whatnot, and he hasn't loved being Batman. But I tell
I
you,
just thought about.
oh,
Go ahead.
I'll
No.
say I
Um,
still want to see him given a real shot at Batman. Like, there's a
mhm.
lot I like about Ben Affleck as a Batman character. Like, I still feel like out of all the Batmans I've ever seen on screen, he's still got one of the best looks that feels really comic accurate. Like, he looks like the Arkham Batman for the most part.
He does.
I know a
Yeah.
lot of people like the Robert Pattinson Batman. I thought it was fine. I did not love it as much as everybody else.
I still think I like I think Batfleck was on par with Pattinson. I didn't think Pattinson.
They're
Looking
very
back,
different. They're very different Batman,
yeah,
to be completely
that
fair.
Batman movie, after watching and thinking on, I definitely dropped my score in my head on it. Definitely afterwards.
What I think made, and I know we're getting off track, what made the Batman movie, I think, so good for a lot of people was it felt like an actual movie, if that makes sense. Like, it
Yeah.
had really good cinematography, it had a really clear vision and style and theme, and I think we had kind of lost that. Like, all the Marvel movies had to have the Marvel coat of paint on them, so they didn't feel like their own movies anymore. They had to be a part of this bigger machine. And you've seen Batman, kind of thrown behind the scenes and all the Justice League stuff as of late. So I think that's what made the Batman kind of stand out, regardless of what you thought of him as Batman or the movie itself. But I want to see Affleck. I'd like to see him get a real shot at being Batman in his own Batman movie, not
I
just
agree.
an Aquaman or the Flash cameo he's going to have, if that ever happens.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping, honestly,
No.
this opens up the door to, like, if they're bringing him back, I hope they bring Cavill back. I'm getting off track, but you've seen that DC, because DC merged or got bought out by, was it Discovery or Discover or
I have
something?
no idea. I didn't
Yeah,
know
they just
about
had a big
that.
buyout. Or merger or something. And one of the first things they just did, I'm light on details, but I know they've gone through and they've axed a whole bunch of DC projects, like the Batgirl movie's been canned.
That's what I was gonna mention is like the timing of that is so kind of crappy, especially after Comic-Con immediately.
Yeah, but a lot
That
of, like,
seems
the
kind of
Arrowverse shows are being canceled. Like, they're changing the direction. It almost feels like they're not wanting to branch out. They're wanting to kind of pull back now on the characters they already have with some of the actors they already have. So I'm
and
kind of
Batgirl was supposed to have Michael Keaton and Brendan Fraser in it, which is also kind of like those two guys were in something and it couldn't get released. That's crazy.
Yeah, well, the only quote I saw on that was the new people who took it over looked at the movie and said it did not work. So I don't know what all that means.
It was going straight to HBO, whatever. I mean, who cares? I mean,
Well, regardless, I guess my point being is I'm hoping they, not saying I don't want them to ever try anything new, and I think some people will probably, harp on that, but I'm hoping they pull back into what has worked for them over the past 10
mhm.
years and they give some of these, at least actors and representations of these characters, another shot. I want to see Cavill get one more real shot at Superman. I want to see Affleck get another shot at Batman. Like, their own movies, not built up as these big,
I
was it Avenger style, Justice League style
yeah.
movies.
I think that's one thing that tick people off so much about the Batgirl cancellation is the fact that like the whole reason they claim they haven't brought Cavill back is due to the asking price of bringing him back, and it's like, okay, so you're willing to put in $90 million into Batgirl and just to like quit on that willy nilly, but like maybe the most important character in your universe you're not willing to pay 5, 10, 15 million dollars to. It's like, come on.
Yeah, it's a tricky thing. I understand. I know movies are expensive, et cetera, but I don't know. I
Their universe doesn't work unless they have Superman, and I
yeah,
don't think Cavill's been a bad Superman. He's just been in bad movies. Like,
yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that most people agree on. Is most people have liked Cavill as Superman, and a lot of people have liked Affleck as Batman. Like, honestly, that's
mhm.
one weird thing about this. DC, I think, has done a really good job casting most of their characters. Like, Jason Momoa's Aquaman is pretty good. It's a very different Aquaman, but it's worked for him.
Gal
And
Gadot's
she's fine. I mean, I don't
fine.
hate her, but I mean, it works for what they're doing. They are just in movies that don't. The movies don't work is the problem. I think the actors and the people they got to play these characters can and should work. They just got to invest in them and have someone with a really focused vision on it. But I'm also, speaking out of a armchair director kind of position here where I don't really know all the
Yeah.
ins and outs. So I can't say anything 100%, but I would love to see those characters get another shot. So hopefully this
Yeah.
buyout merger gives that opportunity some wings. I don't know. We'll see.
Especially Ezra Miller. Give him an. I'm kidding.
Oh, that guy, that guy.
I think I heard he's in hiding right now.
He probably should
He's
be at
like
this point.
he's almost like wanted or something. Not
Uh,
kidding. I think I heard that.
I will be
Um,
very surprised if that movie sees the light of day. I know they have a lot of money invested in it at this point, but man,
you can't tick off Michael Keaton by canceling two projects he's in though. He'll never do another DC thing if you cancel two of his projects.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Mhm.
Anyways, what else we
But
got
they
for?
also the last thing for DC is they announced new Black Adam. Though the trailer, they dropped the trailer. Not something I care about, mainly due to the fact that they refuse to have any connection to Superman or Shazam. Like, how do you have Black Adam movie, but they say that they definitively there's no Shazam and there's no Superman in it, and then in the Shazam movie they say definitively there's no Black Adam and there's no Superman. It's like those three characters are like Oh, I almost did the scissoring. Yeah, I
Oh,
was
don't
gonna
do
say
that. Well,
those
there's
characters.
time for that. Honestly, that's fine. Like, here's the thing: The Rock is such a big. He's just a big entity. Like him having his own movie to kind of get this character off the ground, I think is fine. If it works and people enjoy his representation of the character, there is time to have a Shazam 3 or Black Adam 2 or whatever where they mix them together. But
Mhm.
here's the thing: that's what's been hurting a lot of these movies. You know, on the Marvel side, just all these movies feel like they have to mix together. Like, let some of these characters just breathe. I mean, I know what you're saying. Black Adam's kind of a special case. Like he, at
Well,
least
Black Adam is like an extension of Superman and Shazam. That's why it's like, I mean, at least don't
they could make it
announce it.
work. I don't know.
They've already been like to quell expectations. They've already been like, yep, no, don't expect that none of these guys are gonna meet each other.
But you
'Cause I don't know
know,
if you
I
saw,
bet
but
they'll have some cameo or something or Easter egg. They're gonna leave that door open somehow.
well, you saw that The Rock got booed, right?
Oh, I did not see that.
Yes, during the event where they were showing the trailer for Black Adam, after the trailer showed, they did a question thing with some people asking questions to The Rock, and the fans and someone in the crowd asked, of course, is Superman going to be in your movie at all? And he said, well, not yet. We got to figure out who's going to be playing Superman or something. And
Well, that's
everyone in the
not
crowd
booing
booed
The
him.
Rock. That's just booing that
That
answer. I mean,
announcement, that answer,
yeah,
yeah.
which yeah, I get that. I mean, and that's what we're talking about. Most people still, I think, want Cavill. Like, why? I get here's my biggest thing is like, why replace him? Just because you feel like you need some, fresh face up there. Like, there's nothing wrong about Cavill's. Well, okay, I don't want to say that. People are going to argue with that, but I think at least from an image standpoint, Cavill's been a great Superman. He loves the part. He has good public persona, and they need that. They need some actors that.
Oh,
Hmm?
no, I was going to say what you're saying I totally agree with, because let's be honest, at this point the DC fan base I think is willing to throw, there is no continuity with this DCEU
It's
right now.
all over
People,
the place. They don't care enough.
you got to
Just
just throw characters into a movie, man. Just make people happy. People
give
just want to see
people who they
Superman.
want to see, and just give them a different story that doesn't have to be tied to whatever they've done in the past. They can have a fresh start, but keep these
I
same
agree.
characters. At least I think so. And I think the thing is like Cavill has such good just fanfare right now. Like he's a known entity with a lot of people behind him. Why pull him off? Like you could for some random person that has no following, just so you can save some money, and then that might fall flat on its face. I don't know. I would bank on Cavill star power right now and just pull him back in there. But yeah,
I would agree. So that's pretty much everything, I guess, for the DC stuff. I guess just before we touch on Marvel, I'll just say, just kind of rapid fire, there was a Dungeons and Dragons trailer, which I don't know if most people just remember that '90s one that was really bad.
I remember that one.
Yeah, with one of the Wayans brothers that was in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. That one, I think it has Chris Pine in it, which is weird, but nevertheless. All right, so Dungeons and Dragons, something that I'm surprised got no, I don't want to say surprised, but it got no fanfare was the God of War, or the Game of Thrones spin-off TV show, man. Man, the hype for that show has just tanked. No, I haven't seen one YouTube channel that I watch cover it or do a reaction to it or anything. It's just kind of crazy how
Yeah,
crazy they
they did
make that
not
show.
read the room well on this being worth their time. Like it's already been so long since the show ended. I know it hasn't been that long, but in the realm of media and comics and whatnot, it's been an eternity.
It's been what, like a year and a half since the show ended,
Been
probably
longer than that, I think. But regardless,
2 years.
it's been long enough that people don't care about Game of Thrones as an entity. And here's the thing: most people only cared about Game of Thrones for that main story. And when that ended, especially as
The way it ended.
amazingly as it did, it did sour the experience. I'm usually not one to be like, oh well, just because the ending's bad, that doesn't mean the whole entity is bad.
No,
Well, here's the thing.
that
I think it very much depends. Because that used to be my argument for something like Mass Effect 3, when Mass Effect 3 had that
I
terrible
was just
ending.
gonna bring that up. Yeah, yeah.
But the game itself, I think, was enough to carry it through for the most part. And plus, you think of that, the whole, I don't think Mass Effect 1 and 2 is brought down just because 3 was poor. Some people do, I don't. But Game of Thrones is different because Mass Effect, it's about the journey, right? Game of Thrones was never about the journey. It was about the ending. It was about who ended up on that throne. So I think because the ending was so butchered, it really does make everything that built up to it soured, because every choice that was made for why one person couldn't be at a certain place, etc., who was killed for whatever reason, like that show is ruined because of that ending, whole thing.
So it's not. So yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it's possible for that show to have like a rebirth, or to have like a rebounce back into pop culture like Mass Effect 3 has almost had, because even though Mass Effect 3 was disappointing and had a bad ending, it has been long enough where I think a lot of people, like you said, who have gone back to the game really enjoy it for what it was.
It's not just how long, like how much time has passed, but to be fair, it's a different medium. Games are different because they're immersive. You are really drawn into the journey. So I think you get attached to it differently than just watching a show or watching a movie in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. But to be fair, Mass Effect, I don't feel like for the most part was about the ending. It was about the characters you met, the decisions you made, the stuff that built up. I'm not saying the ending didn't have any impact on that. And yes,
building your team was always a big aspect of each game.
Yeah, and certainly, a poor ending does have some ramifications that do negatively, impact certain parts of the game. But I think not as much as people hit. And to be fair, although it was a disappointing ending, it was fine. It was not as much of a dumpster fire as the ending of Game of Thrones. Like, that was bad on so many levels that you couldn't even redeem the ending itself, let alone going back and trying to tie it back into all the decisions that got built into it. I don't know. And if you start watching Game of Thrones again, I imagine it's going to be hard to go through the first few seasons without imagining that ending the entire time in your head. Like, first time you see Dany, you're now picturing her at the end of the show, not at the beginning. And that's going to damper your entire experience. The choices she makes throughout the show are now impacted by what happened at the end. That's going to be it reframes everything, recontextualizes the entire show for better or for
story
worse.
Is probably the most negatively affected one, especially knowing with how her character just kind of went about itself towards
you also
the end,
know certain characters don't have payoffs, or they have really poor payoffs. Like, that's going to be a show that I don't think is going to ever, well, I won't say ever, I mean, there's always exceptions, but it's going to have a really hard time truly redeeming itself over time.
Well, those first few seasons also, like, the coolest thing about them was the deaths, and that's
not knowing what's coming.
And not knowing what's coming, and now that you watch it, you kind of know what to expect. But
yeah, so I think going along with that, any kind of spin-off there is just kind of set up for failure.
There's literally no one talking about this show.
Yeah, so I don't know. I feel like that was kind of a tone-deaf decision to push forward with the show after how negatively the original run was perceived. But here we are, so we'll see.
It still is Game of Thrones. Maybe it'll have some viewership. I don't know.
There'll be people who watch it to critique it and tear it apart. I mean, even if it's good, what is the spinoff about? I honestly have not paid attention to like what direction they're going with the spinoff.
I have no idea. I'm assuming it's a prequel. I think it is a prequel. It's about like Daenerys' like father or past relatives or something.
Man, that's just no. No. I'm just gonna say no. I'm not. I have no interest. Yeah. Let's get out of it.
We'll move on. We'll leave it there. No, when it comes to Game of Thrones. I guess last two are for this is we had John Wick 4 trailer and a trailer drop for a movie called The Sandman, which I actually thought looked pretty cool. Yeah. So there's those two. The Sandman apparently is a comic or based on a comic or something.
Yeah.
Kind of neat. We'll move.
Are you? How do you feel about John Wick? Are you excited about the new one at all?
I still haven't seen the third one. I really liked 1 and 2. More particularly 1. I think 1 was the better one, but I like 2.
1's the best movie, and then 2 and 3 is just, it's gun porn is all it is at this point.
Action reels, yeah.
Yeah, here's my thing, like, the first one, you can let your, I think, suspension of disbelief kind of go and accept it and have, like, okay, this could actually kind of be a thing that has some realism to it. Second and third one just went so far off the rails that it's, it's a fantasy at this point. It's fun to watch, but I could care less about anything that's happening in these movies at this point. And here's the
I agree
thing,
to an extent. Mm.
Keanu, bless his soul, he's not doing a whole lot of acting in these movies anymore. He's just angry
He's never
Keanu
been a
face.
he's never been a well of charisma. So
Well, there were times, but he's, I think, hitting that age point where I don't know if it's just that you can just see it on his face or if it's affecting kind of how he acts in general. But it's just he's a face more than anything else. It's like, oh,
yeah,
there's Keanu. But I don't know. So I'm not overly
fair enough.
excited.
All right, so I guess I agree to an extent. I'll probably watch it, but who knows? I guess just before we get into the main Marvel stuff, the MCU stuff, there were other Marvel things that were announced, non-MCU related. We did get a trailer for something called I Am Groot, which is an animated short series. I actually thought it looked pretty neat. It's just like its own cartoon TV show of just Groot being on some planets and doing some missions and stuff by himself. I
Hmm.
thought it looked kind of neat, a fun little kid show. And then something you might be interested in is they announced something called Spider-Man Freshman Year. I'm still not quite sure exactly. I think it's a comic spinoff, um,
It's I
or
don't
is it a
know.
TV
It's
show?
a TV show. It's animated to my knowledge. So I think it's kind of like it's an animated series. I
Okay.
don't
I
know.
heard the art style is turning off some people, which I haven't even seen yet. But
Yeah, I didn't look at the art style. But granted, I'll be like some of my favorite. And I watch a lot of Spider-Man animated shows. Um, the art style, I'll tell you, for one of my favorite ones, is not, in my opinion, great, but it's still the best show. Like, have you ever watched Spectacular Spider-Man?
no, I've heard you mention it though. I still like the original animated series the
Yeah, the
most.
'90s one is fun, but the Spectacular one is actually just straight up good. And the art style to me is not great. So I mean, I'll let the art style slide, even if it's a little wonky. I mean, I'll give it a chance. But as far as I know, this is still very much MCU focused. It's gonna, have some little nuggets of MCU drops throughout. I mean, it's got Daredevil, the Charlie Cox incarnation mixed in there. So I'm curious how
Yes, I
that's
saw that.
gonna, play. So I don't know. I guess I'm worried that it's gonna be more of just another MCU, hodgepodge melting pot kind of thing as a way to jump off, let alone just be like a good standalone show. But we'll see.
Hmm. Fair enough. I'm excited. Anything Spider-Man, I don't know. I'll be interested in. So yeah, there's that. And then I guess we'll dive right into like the biggest things that were out of here that most people were talking about was the news coming out of the MCU. So they kind of announced here what did they say was going to close? Or I guess they put it right here. That's going to close. Oh no, they don't. This is just phase 5. What is phase 4 is ending with what? She-Hulk and what else is there? She-Hulk and Loki, I think. I think Loki is the last phase
No,
4. Oh my
Loki's
gosh.
part of Phase 5. It's right there in the
Oh, it
middle.
says what's closing? Oh, there's something else.
There
She-Hulk and
is
there's something
something
else.
else. Oh,
Black Panther. Black Panther.
yeah, yeah.
Black Panther and She-Hulk are the last two things that close out Phase 4. So yeah, I guess we'll get right into MCU announced their Phase 4 and Phase 5 plans. Did they
Before
say if
we,
Kevin Feige still in charge? I'm
yeah,
assuming
as far
of
as
all
I
this
know.
stuff. Okay.
Before we get into any of the Phase 5, 6 stuff, have you cared about anything in Phase 4?
I haven't seen anything in Phase 4,
Yeah,
so
I
well, I
think,
guess what Thor: Love and Thunder is the only thing I've seen.
and No Way Home. I think technically,
Yeah,
um,
I did see that.
yeah. I mean,
I'll be
I'll,
honest, man. I've been super checked out of a lot of the superhero stuff. The last, I don't know. I don't just don't think much of it's been great. Even the Batman. After watching it, I was just like, oh, it was good.
yeah, and I think that's where most
Um,
people are at. This is not a new take by any means. But as soon as Endgame was finished and they wrapped that up, I like just a big check mark kind of where I'm like, okay, done. And then they kind of did that to themselves too because they took a lot of their main players off the board. Like you lost no more Robert Downey, Chris Evans, et cetera, et
mhm.
cetera. So Phase 4 is this rebuilding time, and I'll tell you, it's with less interesting characters. I don't
I
know.
don't like Smart Hulk. Smart Hulk's stupid. I don't
Yeah,
like his whole thing at all.
Yeah, and I understand why they did that. They were trying to, squeeze in a particular Hulk narrative throughout, 4 or 5 movies as a
I
subplot
just mean that's
thing.
another character that I don't care
Yeah, so
for.
the
So,
Hulk, unless they bring him, I know he's in the She-Hulk stuff, but I think he's gonna be played more for laughs and cameos more than anything else.
which is stupid because she's the Hulk. Like, why? I don't know. Like, I feel like it was okay for them to play that way with Thor because Thor, everyone kind of thought he was kind of a boring character to an extent. So maybe making him more comedic was the right artistic decision to make. But I think the Hulk has always been interesting due to his rage and all that stuff. And
Mm.
it's like, I don't think he's interesting at all since he's been Smart Hulk. I don't know.
Well,
That's
they
just
haven't
me.
done anything with him since he's been Smart Hulk. I don't know. I don't disagree with that. But point being is they've been trying this, blank slate with Phase 4, and I don't think it's been overly successful. I mean, I've watched probably more than you have. I haven't watched a whole lot of the movies. I did not watch. What was the first
I
one?
still want to see Doctor Strange. I haven't seen him.
I did actually watch that when I was held up
Oh
sick.
gosh.
I was when I was.
Oh,
Oh, my wife's watching. I'm sorry, I watched it without you. But I was
uh,
laid up sick all last week and was like, I'm just gonna do it. But I didn't watch Black Widow. I didn't watch Eternals. I didn't watch Shang-Chi. I actually was gonna watch those last week. I'm like, well, I'm sick. I might as well just go through these. I didn't want to make myself sicker, so I couldn't do
yeah.
it. They just nothing about them was interesting to me.
Well, you
Maybe
know what that means? That means this weekend I got to watch Doctor Strange then, so we can talk about it.
yeah, I mean, like with Phase 4, the stuff I enjoyed. I'm trying to think. I like most of WandaVision. I mean, it wasn't great all the way through, but it had some fun moments in it.
Isn't
Loki,
the Loki? I was gonna say, isn't Loki where they introduced the main villain for Phase 6 or Phase 5?
they introduced
They
Kang the
mention him,
Conqueror. Yeah.
Kang the Conqueror.
And I'm not sure if he's the main villain throughout all of it, but yeah, I know he's setting him up to be like a villain of some of the Avengers movies. So yeah, he's in Loki. The Loki show is hit or miss. It's got some okay stuff. It's got some agenda pushing stuff too, which I wasn't a big fan of. I'll tell you, and I'm gonna let you watch it. Multiverse of Madness was just okay.
Really? Oh, that's disappointing.
It's not that it was bad. I said you got to kind of watch it to feel it out. You almost need to watch WandaVision. Not really, but it helps. Wanda's a big part of this show. It's got some cool little Easter eggs in there. Some of them are very on the nose, which you could argue is a little cheesy or a little too much. But there's some fun stuff in there. But
Mm.
I don't think it was, great. I don't know. I'm not gonna try to
Right.
rank it, but just gauge your expectations accordingly. If you lower them, you'll probably enjoy it more than I did. And then, of course,
Mm.
Love and Thunder was not great. No
It
Way
was just a.
Home was. Oh, I'm sorry. What do you want to say?
I have to say, Love and Thunder for me was just an avenue to get to see Christian Bale. That was it.
Yeah, and we talked
Christian
about
Bale
that.
and
That was
yeah.
not a solid movie. And I'll tell you, No Way Home, I enjoyed. When I watched it again, though, it didn't have the same punch. Like, that movie was fun for the big nostalgia hit. And I mean, it's still a fun, good movie to have all those Spider-Man back together. But
When you know you're about to see Toby and the other Spider-Man, it's
yeah,
just like,
it loses its weight. So I think of that, and that numerical score for me is going down a little bit. It's still a good movie, but it's not going to, stand up there, I think, test of time kind of levels for me.
so I guess just in essence, like, what here in Phase 5 interests you at all? I
And that's
mean,
kind of where I'm going with this. Not much. I know you're going to say Guardians.
Guardians.
Um,
I'm kind of intrigued. Oh no, but the Captain America isn't Chris Evans. It's the
Mackie.
new guy, right?
Yeah.
Eh. Um, I mean, that
I'm
character's not
curious
bad,
what
but
they do with Blade, but I know it needs to be rated R. It needs to be freaking
part of the
Wesley
fun, the
Snipes.
original
Yeah.
part of the fun was how like kind of bad and, and kind of grotesque that original ones were. I kind of like that. Yeah, like you said, like
Blade's a
it's
very
not.
gory, over the top, rough character. Like to not have him be, R rated or pretty, close to it is going to be hard. I don't know. I don't know. I will say that Marvel has pushed the gore side of things a little more. Multiverse of Madness did have some moments like, whoa. I don't know if it's enough to serve as something like Blade just yet, but maybe.
I'll be honest. I don't even know what half of this stuff is. What is Ironheart? What is
Ironheart is
Thunderbolt?
basically the new Iron Man. I don't know if you know anything
What is
about that story.
Echo?
I don't know anything about Echo.
I don't know what half of this stuff is, to be honest.
Yeah, the Marvels is Captain Marvel 2. Agatha is a spinoff of WandaVision. I don't. There's not a lot here that I feel like I need to watch or care about. I definitely have lost that feeling where like you've got to watch every Marvel IP out there to kind of piece everything together. Like now, I'm just like I'll watch the highlights or skip it completely and just watch the one or two movies or shows I
You're
care
touching
about.
on something I was just about to say is that the kind of thing is I feel like the whole point of watching all of these 20 things on screen is for that one little trickle of info or reveal that kind of leads into this next picture over here.
Mm-hmm.
Like you are going to watch each of these just to get like a tiny little nugget of information or reveal, just that so that can lead you into phase 6. Like
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's kind of the point, but like I
I
don't
think
know,
people
it's
have
just like
lost their patience for that a little bit, at least as far as drudging through less than stellar movies and shows. Like I've watched enough now. Like I watched all the way through that Hawkeye TV show, which man, there were parts of that I was like, why am I doing this to myself? And they had a few cool Easter eggs. You had the Kingpin from Daredevil pop up in there.
oh,
So yeah, it was
D'Onofrio.
yeah. So spoiler. Ooh. So they have
Mm,
those moments, but I could have had someone just tell me that and be happy about it. Like, see, now you know about that. You don't need to watch Hawkeye. So I just saved you a bunch of hours. So I'm kind of at that point with Marvel as a whole. There are some
I
things in here I am interested-ish to see. Maybe the new Daredevil show, but I'll tell you. Did you watch all the Netflix Daredevil seasons?
think I did. Pretty sure I did.
So the first season, from my recollection, was really solid. The second season started to lose
Wasn't
me.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'm not
I
sure
watched
what
all
this
of
one's
them. I
gonna
watched
do.
all the Netflix MCU stuff. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
I watched
and
everything.
there was some good stuff in there. There was some not so good stuff in there, but I feel like I got my Daredevil fill out of what was already shown in that Netflix stuff. So
Jessica Jones, the same thing. The first season was pretty good, and the second one was.
yeah, so I'm not really sure what I'm expecting to get out of this MCU version of it because they're using the same Daredevil, which is cool. I mean, I'm glad they didn't throw away something that worked, but at the same time, I don't need it. Just like I don't feel like I really
Um,
need Agatha's Coven of Chaos or whatever. So I don't
I
know.
will say for me, what's missing here? What's missing? There's something big's missing that would make me a little bit more interested or intrigued.
Well, you gotta think none of the like. I'm trying to remember all the phases in leading up to the first Avengers. Did it have to go to like phase 2 before it got to Avengers, or
No,
did?
I just mean there's a group of MCU characters, not MCU, Marvel characters, that if they started to work those
Oh,
in,
we're
I
talking
would be
X-Men.
very, yes,
Wow,
I would be very interested to see how they began to work them
they
in.
already started.
But well, with what was the what's the Captain
No.
Marvel?
Well, okay, so I'm going to. Well, this is a spoiler though for the Doctor
Oh, with
Strange
Doctor
Factor
Strange
X.
with yeah, but was that was that them
Yeah,
working them in?
yeah, and it was X-Men. Like they played the '90s music when he rolled out in this big yellow hover bike. Like it was straight up X-Men. I mean, I know what you're saying. They haven't like worked them into the story yet, but honestly, I want to see them do that kind of slow. Like I don't know. I know what you're saying. It'd be nice to see them in the MCU, but it's not like they haven't done anything with X-Men. Like X-Men, they
Yeah.
have burned into the ground over the past 2 decades. So
Mhm.
they need to take their time with that. I'm honestly more intrigued with them doing the Fantastic Four, right? Not that I even care a whole lot about Fantastic Four, but that's a group of heroes that have had a lot of time to breathe.
Apparently, the dude from The Office
Jim
played Stretch
Halpert.
Man. Jim Halpert.
Yeah,
That's
I know I'm going to spoiler stuff, but when you watch Multiverse, he plays Reed Richards. Now I don't know if that means he will be Reed Richards throughout all of it because with the multiverse stuff, they can have other people be different characters. But I kind of feel like they're going to keep him, and that's not the worst thing in the world. He's fine. I remember back in the day when he was potentially going to be Captain America. I don't know if you remember those potentials, but
Mhm.
um,
They should, they should Kevin Spacey.
no, Kevin Spacey shouldn't do anything ever again. But I don't know. I definitely do want to see the X-Men start popping up, and I bet there in all those gaps in Phase 6, you're going to see some X-Men stuff. You'll see a Wolverine something. You'll see a I don't know.
I almost, now that I'm thinking about it, I almost would rather. I almost would rather the X-Men not be tied into any of this. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how I would want them to
Well, okay,
approach
well you've
that.
had that. You've already had X-Men as its own separate entity, not tied
Yeah,
into
but
MCU.
Marvel, that was all Fox, right? All
Yeah.
Fox's
Do you
shows.
think Disney's going to do better necessarily?
No, no.
Like Disney, at least lately, I don't feel like has this great track record right now with all these heroes. There have definitely been some duds over the past couple of years. So I'm not resting assured the fact that they're going to make a new X-Men reboot under the Disney brand. It's going to be anything stellar. So and honestly, I'm not so sure if they're really going to try. They've already shown that they're cool just bringing over pre-existing X-Men from that universe, like Professor X, Patrick Stewart. They just brought him in. No other fanfare, backstory, just like bam, there's Professor X. I would not be surprised if they got Hugh Jackman to just pop up in here. Which I honestly, I'm gonna have a real hard time whenever they have to recast Wolverine. Like,
I have to pay him a lot of money.
and I think they'll do it. Like,
Oh,
why wouldn't they? They paid Robert Downey a crap load to continue doing what he was doing, and they're at that point now. They need some. They need stuff like that. That's what made No Way Home work. Was that they brought back those faces. They brought back Garfield. They brought back Toby, like Willem Dafoe. Like I think they need some of that right now because they've lost Downey. They've lost Evans.
there's no
I
big faces really
Yeah, there's
for Marvel
that's it.
right
There's
now.
no big name now to hinge everything on. I'm not saying that it should have to be that way, but that's kind of how these things work. You need these big pillar characters or actors to stand upon, and as much as they've tried to build up their back catalog of characters, for me they're not working. Like Mackie, is it Andrew Mackie? What's Falcon Captain America's
Anthony,
name? Huh?
Anthony. Oh,
Anthony
what's his?
Mackie. It's Anthony. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I like him well enough, but he's not selling a bunch of tickets for me. I don't feel like that about Captain Marvel or any even Doctor Strange. Like he's not strong enough to hold on its own. So I think if they bring in some pre-existing self-established characters, get a Wolverine in there with Hugh Jackman. I know he's old as dirt at this point for the role, but I don't know. I'd like to see him in some capacity, even if does a passing of the torch kind of thing, like No Way Home kind of is done. That might help introduce them. But I don't know. I'm not excited about Phase 5. I'm not excited about Phase 6. I mean, Fantastic Four,
I'm more,
I am curious about, but I'm not
I'm more
excited
curious
about.
about Phase 6, but I'm not like excited for Phase
But
5.
even that, okay, so what's in Phase 6? Kang Dynasty. I don't care about Kang. I don't know enough about him to be honest, but they have not built him up really strongly yet. He's definitely not a Thanos at this point.
Hmm.
Secret Wars, I know from a comic standpoint, there's some cool stuff there, but there's nothing there yet. I don't know. Like there's nothing that's pulling me through this, roller coaster ride anymore. X-Men, I think being brought in, well, could do some of that, but it's going to have to really play on some nostalgic strings and some, hoaxy things to pull me in like they do with Patrick Stewart. Like, and that's only going to work for so long. So once they kind of do that and get you pulled in, they're going to have to find a way to support whatever they've done, which I don't know if they can do at this point.
All right. Well, yeah, I kind of agree. I'm not going to disagree on any point. I'm not crazy excited, but I guess that's going to wrap up our conversation on Comic Con. I don't know. Overall, I felt like most people were kind of, I don't know, less than enthusiastic about walking
People
away
got
from it.
Marvel burnout, man. I mean, they got superhero
That's
burnout in general.
that's a
And
conversation for another day. But it is funny how for years everyone kept talking about, well, how long is it before people start feeling burnt out, and it almost felt like it would never come. But
mhm.
it definitely feels like that is here, right?
and it's not just Marvel; it's superhero movies. Period. Like, I think
Mhm.
we're kind of getting to a point where, just in general, superhero movies need to take a rest. I don't think they're going to, but just have like one or two a year. Let it settle for a little bit. Maybe we'll get some, anticipation built back up for something, and then pop something. Like honestly, like how Phase 6 looks so sparse, I'd kind of like it if Phase 5 was sparser and they stretch it out for a while, build it up, take their time. I don't know, but I'm sorry, I'm going back into a topic we just closed out.
You're good. All right, so I feel like we'll be shorter on this topic than I thought. But so I speaking of superheroes, I finally got to start watching a show that everyone is kind of a ways into, but I finally got to watch The Boys. I watched the first season. So I feel like it might be kind of fun for me just to give my. I mean, you're way past it. You're right. You're caught up on season three.
Yeah, and I finished season 3. Yeah, every season, man, just ups itself. So just kind of take that into consideration as you go through it. Like, for as crazy as you thought the first season was, it only gets worse. Oh, and that scene that you just played there, I'm going back to your screen really quick. Go back up real quick.
Team.
Like, I did not know what to expect when this show first hit. That scene right there, like,
It's so
broke
cool.
me. Like, oh, man.
I
Man.
guess out of the game, just so you guys know, there will be spoilers here. I'm just gonna talk about my favorite stuff that I saw out of the season. I'll be super brief, actually. I thought I would take a while, but now that I'm thinking about it, everyone's already seen the first seasons. Well, most people, but yeah, I mean, overall, I agree with you, man. From like the very get go of season one, episode one, minute one, they freaking like that whole thing that happens with what's his name, Huey, I think his
Mm-hmm.
name is Huey and his girlfriend. Man, that is just it's I was talking to a buddy while we were playing golf the other day, but like this show finds a way to be one of the most grotesque and ridiculous shows, which is kind of crazy just thinking that it's a superhero show. I don't know
Yeah.
why that's
It's weird because it has this very odd tone. Like, you can't tell if it is being gory for the sake of being gory, if it's being serious, if it's being funny gory, if it's being like horrific, tragic gory. Like, that scene right there hit on every emotion and heartstring I had. Like, I was grossed out. I was, depressed because I saw this guy's, chick get destroyed in front of him. It was funny because A Train's just like, sorry, bye."
my bad, dude.
So like, and the whole show is like that. Like, it's a roller coaster ride of emotions as you go up. Like, you're laughing 1 minute and crying and grossed out the entire time.
Dude, I'll just go straight in, man. The airplane scene is one of the most horrific and like I mean, and it's horrific because, and you don't even get to see the aftermath of what
It's
happens.
just so
Like,
messed up.
it's just horrific just thinking about that situation. And, like, it's just thinking about putting yourself in that situation. It's really totally crazy how they're able to flip the whole story of what a superhero is, man. And it's not just Homelander. It's like every hero is like a damn it. They do their
They're
best to
all
make
people.
they're all people. They're realistic. Some well, not some of them are exaggeration of people, but like for the most part, each of them have their own problems. They're not all same. They're not. They don't all have the same issues. Like Homelander is, he's his own issue.
Hmm.
He's his own issue. But like you have like sex fiends. You have just narcissists, and you have
It's
people that have
honestly
egos.
what would real life would be like if you had powers. Like, here's the thing. You
Drug
get
addict.
Yeah, I mean, you wake up with superpowers. Odds are you're not all of a sudden going to turn around and be Superman, even if you had all of his powers. Like, most people are not that morally good, that would hold those principles and those values, and that's going to be true for just about every like traditional superhero that exists. Like, this takes archetypes of real people, how they would use superpowers in their real world, usually for self gain. You got them using it for fame and publicity and drugs, and for narcissistic reasons. Few of them
Mhm.
use them for any kind of altruistic purposes. So that's the whole core of the show, is that being a superhero does not make you better than anyone. In many cases, it makes you worse because you have this power that you're going to abuse for your own self gain. But
Yeah, and like you were saying, like, it's really interesting how the show really kind of ties in and just like it has all of these aspects of real life that revolve around the idea of what if they were heroes.
mhm.
Like it has like corporatization of things, it has religion, it has um like how like the police and the government would operate
Yeah, it's
around
about the world
things.
with superheroes in it. Like, I can't remember all the details of season one because it's been a while, but there's not like the superheroes are fighting some supervillain. That's not the point of the show
Oh,
or the season. Like, and usually they're not even doing like superhero work. They are just, you know, being d bags all the time
yeah,
with
pretty much.
superpowers. So,
Oh my gosh, the opening scene where what's her name?
Starlight,
Starlight, when she first joins the Seven, and she is locked in that room with the
it's
Deep, and then
terrible. It's terrible. This
and
show
she's
is
telling
terrible. Terrible, by the way. Like,
it's
it's hard to recommend for those who have like weak stomachs or even just don't like seeing very uncomfortable scenes. Like this show puts you in situations that are extremely uncomfortable and
I was
ugh.
talking about this show talking with my dad's buddy while my dad was there, and I was just talking about how much I enjoyed the show. And the one thing I didn't bring up with my dad, I just didn't want him to off-site hear it, but I'm just like, I didn't bring up the whole like religious stuff. Like this show, like it, it doesn't hold its punches. It definitely seems like they try to get like, I don't think they hit you over the head with the religion aspect, but they definitely are not afraid to like touch on it. And I don't know, it again, like you were saying about the uncomfortableness. Like if you know, that's something to think about when at least watching the first season. I don't know if that plays a part with
Oh, it
future
gets
seasons.
worse. Everything gets worse. I mean, it gets different worse, but it gets worse. I can't even begin to explain some of the things that happen in two and three. So,
If you have mommy issues, Homelander.
oh, it gets worse. Everything gets
Oh my
worse.
god.
And that's the thing about this show. Like for every point that you have, just be aware everything's going to be elevated. Some things exponentially each season. Like you can't think of a way how they're going to top themselves. They find a way every time. So, ooh, man.
Well, the interesting thing I'm noticing while looking at my notes while I was watching the show is I bring up all of these different things about how like hero worship, mega corporations. I'm looking at hero shareholder meetings, shady business practices, uh, heroes symbolizing aspects of politicians and government, and like it's so crazy how like all of that stuff you feel like at the beginning of the show is super important, and then into the season when things start going downhill, you're like, oh, so all that stuff pales in comparison because this guy is he's above all of that. Like you
Yeah,
think that stuff is gonna play a major aspect,
it
but like
all boils down to
it
Homelander.
all boils down to Homelander because I mean all of that it's just again it's interesting. You think that stuff is such a big deal, but Homelander's
And every
so powerful.
season's the same way. Like there, and without going to spoilers, there's very little that they ever introduce that can ever be a stumbling block or a foil to Homelander. Like it's always just they're all getting ready for that pot to boil. Like, and it's odd because you keep thinking, okay, it's gonna happen, it's gonna get there, but it's just they keep edging it and edging it closer and closer to it, and you're just waiting for the massacre or whatever to happen. Um, but I mean,
But
that's the
that is the
tension of the
thing.
show. Like he is the
Hopefully
show. Like that whole struggle and
right.
tension. Yeah, like they introduce other things around that kind of build out other characters and the relationships and background for like how kind of where they got.
But I'm
But
hoping there's more though. Like if that continues to
there
be
is, but
for,
there isn't.
mm,
I don't let that turn you off because there's enough there that will still intrigue you to go through it. And the character of Homelander does change and evolve too over it, but it's still like he is still the issue, the foil they're trying to figure out.
because like I've said before, when it comes to other IPs and stuff, the thing I like is um I like things ending. And I think I like things ending well. Like I don't just want something to just
Mm.
continue on and on and on. Like I want there to be some resolution, some wrap up with Homelander, with everything about him. Like does it seem like I mean, I don't know how many seasons they've said that the show is supposed to go on
Well,
for,
here's the
but
thing. To my knowledge, this is based on a comic. I don't know how far the
oh,
comic is.
I forgot
Um,
about.
So I don't know if they're trying to, keep in line with the comic. I've not read any of those, so I don't know how closely the show represents the comic or any of that kind of stuff. I agree, though. I mean, at some point, you want, this thing to tie on, not just drone on forever and ever. But it's got another season left in it, I'd say, like a good, valid story, telling that could take place.
Or
Beyond
does it
that,
feel like, oh
hmm,
no, I was just saying, but does it feel like if there's another season that does the same thing, does it feel like you're gonna get to a point where you're like, I need to see.
maybe. I don't know. I didn't feel a whole lot of that this time. To be fair, though, like I feel like there was a big gap between the timing of season 2 and season 3. I'm not sure if that was a COVID thing or what it was. So I didn't feel burnt out between it. Like I watched season 1, season 2 came out in a reasonable time frame, which that I thought was a good, stepping up point from season 1. And there was a big gap between season 3. So I didn't feel the burnout. You'll probably feel more of it just cuz you're, binge watching the whole thing back to back to back. So you might notice the chinks in that a little more than I did. To me, it flowed fine. I agree that after another season of this, it would have to advance to some different narrative level as far as what they're doing with Homelander and stuff like that. But there's still some room right now. I don't know how long they can stretch that out for.
It's interesting. I guess just a couple other things I wanted to mention is the acting in the show is great. I mean, Carl Urban's fantastic. What's his name? Quaid. What's his first? Oh, what's his name? Jack Quaid.
Yeah,
Jack Quaid's great. Dennis Quaid's son. Carl Urban. Did I mention Carl Urban?
you
I
did.
think I did. Anthony Starr's great. And he's like a new actor. I'd never heard of this guy until they brought him on for Homelander.
Hmm.
Who else? There's somebody. Oh, Simon Pegg for some reason is Huey's dad, which I thought was kind of funny.
Yeah.
But it's got a really great cast. Anything else? I guess I wanted to mention. Oh, I have the cancer patient scene was pretty funny. The cancer patient wanted to see um, the one superhero, but because he was kidnapped, A Train shows up,
Yeah.
and he's like, "But I wanted to see this hero. I'm about to die." And A Train's like, "Okay, but you got me." I don't. Um, but yeah, I'm trying to think of what else. I mean, I guess that's just it. I mean, I really enjoyed the first season. Since we're talking, I was waiting to start season 2 until we talk about it. So, oh, I guess freaking Vicious from Cowboy Bebop plays Translucent, which I thought was funny.
Oh yeah, he did, didn't he? I
I was,
didn't catch that. He didn't have
I
that
was,
beautiful white hair, so
I was like actually kind of happy to see him in something good because the only time I saw him was in Cowboy Bebop. So I'm like, okay, so at least he's good, good here. I don't know, but yeah, I enjoyed season 1. So you said you definitely recommend season 2 and 3, of course.
yeah. Um, and I'd just go ahead and just watch them back to back. I mean, if you want to, watch season 2 and then talk about it, we could. But um, I'd just say knock them out. They're not super long seasons, and then we can just kind of talk about it as a big package. Because it'd be hard for me, I think, to go back through and kind of dissect season 2, knowing what I've seen in season 3. So
I'm kind of curious to see what the whole villain thing, because I know like Homelander spread out like that chemical across the world and created supervillains. So I'm very curious to see how that, what comes of that. And oh yeah, and then I forgot to mention the whole Butcher and I keep calling their names Butcher and Homelander. Like it ends on like a crazy cliffhanger of them finding Butcher's wife and son, and
yeah,
it's just like I don't want to know where that's. I don't even want to know where that's gonna go. Like that could go
goes
anywhere.
places, man. Goes
It
places.
goes.
Yep.
Oh, the whole scene of him staring into his mom girlfriend's eyes. That was scary. All right, guys. So that was the boys. So yeah,
That's a
definitely.
show.
Hopefully by next week, we will. I'll be able to talk about season 2. We'll definitely put that on the list. So yeah, I guess we're gonna touch on the final topic. I honestly didn't know if you even wanted to make it a topic. I didn't think much came out of it. But we will move on to the Pokemon Presents event that just happened yesterday. If you don't see, I actually did a whole reaction on my channel myself. Just kind of me wrapped in my Pikachu blanket, watching some Pokemans. But yeah, I'll let you go ahead. So you're the one that added this to the notes. What did you think?
I mean, I don't remember everything that was talked about besides Scarlet and Violet. I know they
You
talked.
want to just talk about that, or did you want to? The whole event didn't have much, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I know they talked about Go and Unite and what they're bringing their championship back. And that's all great. I I don't have a lot of input about any of that stuff. Like Scarlet and Violet is the only stuff I pseudo care about. But if you want to go back and rehit anything from the presentation prior, by all means.
I do not. I just want to talk about Scarlet and Violet, pretty much.
Okay.
Um, so
So,
yeah,
what did you think of their more extended trailer?
all these freaking ads for a video.
Yeah, so your
Um,
B-roll.
the extended trailer.
Because they actually explain some of the story beats and the gameplay a little better. So,
Maybe I didn't pay attention. Maybe I was too busy talking. I don't remember any of that. The only thing I took away from it was, oh, it looked visually, it looked about what I was expecting. I don't know if it was my stream or what, but I thought it looked pixelated. But I guarantee you that's just how it looks. I mean, it was a stream, so
well, remember the
I don't.
Switch is not the most graphically impressive console. Like, it's I don't think it's going to look great. Arceus did not look great, and
Know.
this is going to be pushing it past Arceus levels because this is what the first true open world Pokemon.
Mhm.
So I'm not expecting an amazing graphical fidelity. I think it will be fine. I mean, it kind of looks like Arceus, like in the wide shots here. So I'm assuming it's a similar engine, maybe.
I guess I just didn't really see anything that really blew me away. Although I don't. Maybe it's bad to just keep expecting that from Pokemon. Like,
Well, let me ask this: what are you wanting out of this game? Like, if they were going
or
to release a new Pokemon game, what is it you want to have in it that is either new or different, or it needs to be the same? Like, what are you looking for?
like an expansion on the Arceus formula. It's kind of more of that, which I still don't quite know. Is that what we're getting here? Can you still walk around these areas and just throw Pokeballs and battle whatever you want? Is it?
So
I'm
I
still not quite sure about any of that.
I've been trying to go back and think of this too, like because it's now been a while since I played Arceus. So I'm trying to remember specifically like what about that game I liked so much. What was like the core gameplay principles? The walking around, throwing Pokeballs at stuff. It was probably the big one.
The seamless transition from walking to battles was really neat. I
Yeah.
really like that.
Which here's the thing. Now, from what I have seen, you are walking around. It's open world, as they've said, which that is going in line with pseudo how Arceus was set up. Arceus was not open world, but it was more open environment. So we're kind of getting that cue. There are clearly Pokemon. I'm sorry, just walking around the environment. So that's like Arceus. The only thing I have not seen, and I don't think anybody's confirmed or denied, you can chuck Pokeballs at anything just outright, for better or for worse. But it looks like the battle system is similar to how it was in Arceus, or at least traditional-ish. So I don't know. I guess I'm trying to think like what component from Arceus needs to come back that I would be like, okay, I really, really want this particular gameplay mechanic. What else were there? There was like the research levels, which that was pretty much just catching them and fighting them a certain way, which they could still have something like that. I don't know, like
I mean,
what else are you wanting
you know,
from Arceus to carry over?
man, I was just thinking about that as you were saying. He's going to ask me, but what about that? Um, I don't.
Because a lot of what I
Again,
enjoyed, I'm sorry, I shouldn't cut you off because I asked your question. Go ahead.
and like, I mean, we've talked about it plenty of times, but like, my favorite aspects was some of the open worldiness, which they claim that's here, so that's a good thing. I really like the boss battles. I know you were less favorable on many of the boss battle type
Yeah, I
things.
don't care if
I
those come back.
I really liked a lot of those. But I'm assuming this is going back to the gym
Hmm.
battle type formula. I'm assuming.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely gems.
I don't know. It's just I feel like talking Pokemon for me is an odd talking point now because it's like I want Pokemon's a thing that I constantly want new things from, but I don't know. I feel like you kind of just want the same thing. It's weird. You know what I mean? Um, Man, you put me on the spot. I don't know what to bring back. I mean, other than those couple things I mentioned.
I guess this
Um,
is my point. Is like what at the
I'm re-
core of Arceus was Arceus? Like, what made Arceus so fun for us? Because I did enjoy Arceus more than I had just about any other Pokemon in a long time. And a lot of it was just the open worldness of it. Like, I could just go around, and granted, it wasn't even true open world, but having open environments that I could just fly around or do whatever I want to in between, see Pokemon on the ground, go down, do what I want to with them, and fly back off.
All this game is. They claim this game builds upon that open worldness that Arceus was. They say this is more open world than that game was.
Yeah, which that's
So
going to check off a big box for me. The other thing with being able to walk around and throw Pokeballs at them, I really liked that mechanic. I don't know how much that needs to be a crucial thing. Like if I'm going to really miss it, as long as I can still walk up and interact with them and instigate battles and stuff. Which I imagine you're still going to have to be able to do that. So that's not going to be that different. So I feel like a lot of that core of what Arceus was that we liked, the open world, is here, and you get to play with 3 friends. So
I did like that. They finally throw in co-op. Is that the first time co-op has been put into a major Pokemon game?
at this level, I mean, you've had, I think in like some of the mega raids and stuff, you could have multiplayer kind of stuff, but yeah, this is the first time. I know they announced it a while back. This is the first time you kind of got to see it, where you could, have 3 other people go around open world. I'm curious how that's going to be, if you have to be like in the same instance of an open world. Because if the world's open, you can't all just go completely separate directions, can you? Like, how does that work too? Like, how do you battle together? Like, I don't know. I'm really curious to see how that's actually going to play out and impact gameplay.
All right. Well, I guess I have to ask the most important question: Scarlet or Violet?
Um,
Violet.
I'm kind of
Violet.
leaning Violet.
That's another question: is do you like this whole Pokemon bike
No.
thing?
And
I
honestly,
think it
that's
was.
why I'm kind of leaning Violet. Because here's the thing, I don't really care for either of them too much. So Raiden at least looks like a vehicle because he's kind of like all techie, which I don't know, which makes it like, why should that even be your Pokemon? I'm not actually a big fan of when your Pokemon look like inanimate objects in the first place. So I feel
Um,
like just give you a bike or something. Um, so I don't know. I'm kind of leaning Violet though. Like I like the future aspect of it, the spacey kind of
I'm
future
saying
theme.
exact boat. I was assuming you were going to go Scarlet because he was red, but I
I
was
like
Violet
red. I
because
mean,
he.
red's my jam, but like Koraidon, and it's not that I hate Koraidon as is. I do not like him when he's a bike. It was with the video they show. I don't know if you can find it, but when they show him like comparing him his bikes, he's not even rolling around like a bike. He's got
He's
his wheel chest out, but he's still running. So why make him a bike in the first place? Um, I don't know. I know you're trying to find it right now, scrubbing through. Um, but I don't know. And that also means too, wouldn't they have to give you those legendaries pretty early on?
at the
Um,
beginning of the game. Get him.
I mean, maybe not at the beginning, but if they're going to be a major form, there it was, a major form of transportation, I imagine you're going to want to have them pretty early on, which just seems weird for the legendaries of the game, because that's normally like, the in-game thing you get.
Oh, that is weird. His tire don't even move.
Yeah, that's what I thought was so weird about. Like, I don't know, why give him tires?
Why?
I don't know, very odd. Granted, Pokemon's done weird stuff before with their legendaries, but I'm not in love with where their legendaries are in this particular game.
Mm, that is true though. That means you have to get the Pokemon right at the beginning.
As
I
it,
mean,
it maybe
how?
not the beginning, but I'd imagine within the first 5 hours of gameplay, because you'll have to start getting around the world pretty quickly. So
I don't know. Overall, I'm not. I'm not super stoked. I mean, I'll probably get it day one. Just if you, whenever I'll probably get it whenever you get it. But I'm not like super crazy over this game or anything.
well, I
Uh,
think here's the thing. I am more excited by the potential of it just because Arceus really caught me off guard. Like, I did not expect to like Arceus the way I did. So, I am more willing to give this game a chance than I have with prior Pokemon. And the fact that it is leaning some of that Arceus direction with the open world nature and stuff like that, that's a good sign. So, I mean, I'm thinking it's going to be a good time. I'm hoping. How do you feel about the starters? Who are you going with?
I'm gonna say I'm. This might be the first Pokemon game where I don't immediately go with the water type. I think the water type looks awful. It's probably the worst water type I can remember. I'm thinking about going with the grass. I don't
Really?
know.
Oh, they all look kind of boring to me. Like, was it Sprigito or whatever it is, Sprigito, and it's just a cat, and then Quaxley's just a duck. Like, was it Fuikoko, whatever his name is? At least he looks like something different. He looks like not a regular animal, so I'm probably going with him.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna go with Spirited Tito.
No, fair enough.
Yeah, overall, I'm very lukewarm on everything about this one. Although I will admit, I feel like that's how the way I was on Arceus up until Arceus came out, and then I was like, okay,
Well, that's what
I
I'm
kind of
saying.
want to.
Like, this might, fall into all the pitfalls that I have not liked about traditional games, and maybe that will turn me off again, but Arceus got some goodwill back, and it looks like this has at least some of that Arceus DNA. It is not an exact retread of Sword and Shield, thank goodness. I did not like Sword and Shield. So, assuming that maybe has a few tricks up his sleeve, I might be spending quite a bit of time with it. We shall see. But one of the things I ended up loving about Arceus towards the end was just be able to go through, fly around, just pick up, you fill out your Pokedex and raise your research levels and stuff. It was a casual grind, and I hope that element is in here still. The fact that it's open world has me hopeful it will be, but we'll see.
It does make me really want to play. I still haven't played Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee.
I actually just went back and finished that because I had some time. I want some kind of casual, and I enjoyed it ish, but I mean, if you played those games,
I just want to use the controller thing. That's it.
That gets old pretty quick. I'll be honest. And I think the problem I had with that game is I played the original so much that it was a drag as I got towards the end of it. But that's just because it is a complete just one for one remake of Pokemon Yellow. So take that for what it is. But it's fun nostalgia trip at the very least.
Fair enough. We'll see if I can make time. Did they have a release date for this game? I don't even know.
I thought it was like November.
Yeah, sometime around there. I'm sure it can. It's even if it comes out around the time that and God of War are two totally different games, they're not gonna.
Yeah, do God of War first. That'll be a quick run through. This game will probably take you longer.
Oh yeah, definitely. All right, guys. Well, shoot. There's another week of the ChazmaN podcast rounded up. So I guess just looking ahead, what exactly do we got planned for next week?
We'll even be here next week. Ooh. I'll probably get sick again. So.
You gotta find out what's up with your voice there, man.
Dying. We're all dying, one day at a time.
Every second that goes by, we're a second closer.
Well, for me, it's just going to be finishing Horizon, and then work's going to get crazy. So, there we go.
Yeah. So I'm going to try and finish Returnal. You're playing Horizon. I definitely want to finish Season 2 of The Boys. And who knows, maybe if I have time, I might try and sneak in Doctor Strange, and maybe we can talk about that the next episode.
Yep.
But yeah, that's all we got planned. I don't know. I feel like this was this episode I felt like was going to be way crazier because, a couple weeks away, but I feel like we were able to touch on everything kind of major that happened.
And still went for over 2 hours, so good job. Oh yes.
Oh gosh. Well, I guess it's time for you to get back in the basement, huh?
Yeah, I'm going back down. Let me take my medication real quick.
Oh, that's right. I forgot of the new plot element is the conditions down in the basement.
Mm-hmm. I had to take some tips from your Plague's Tale walkthrough to kind of fend off all the rats down there. So.
Should have made friends with them. Maybe they can help you out.
Yeah.
Alright guys, well that is another week wrapped up. As always, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. We love you. We can't wait to see you. Anything else, Phoenix, before we wrap it up?
Nope, I'm tired. Bye.
Alright, well, oh no, bye. Never mind. I don't mind.
Jeez, cliffhanger. Come on.
We'll leave all that in. Ignore that. This is my... Bye. Adios.
Bye.